everyone. This is Brother Benson, and I'm joined with Makobura and Miguda. How are you doing, gentlemen?
Good evening. Thank you so much for having us this evening. And to our viewers, you are highly welcomed. And we are looking forward to having a detailed conversation.
Okay, thank you so much. What about you, Miguda? How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing very fine, my two brothers, and I'm also managing very fair and complain so far so good. And,
To say,
on my end, I can just expect that we have a calm weather. Doing great.
did you? I did not get your last word. What did you say
I,
last?
I was saying, if you can hear from me, I was
Yes.
saying from
Mhm.
my end, we have a very calm weather and we are doing very good.
Okay. That is nice to hear that both of you are doing fine, and that is what we want. And we are also expecting to hear from our viewers, especially in the comment section. I know they will be coming anytime soon from now. But all in all, today we want to have a discussion. And before that, there's so many things that are happening. I told you yesterday when we had a discussion that the issue of abduction, especially for the Gen Z and those who lost their life, this is a matter that is not going to be buried anytime soon. Because anytime, any day that this question comes up, it becomes a very, very quite challenging, especially to the president, to answer those questions. Because if you look at the trail of conversation today, from the day president asked, when he was asked by the reporter about what is the government doing about the people who were abducted, and he gave and saying that those who abducted have reunited with their families, the abductees have reunited with their families. And after that, there's so many questions that came up. So who abducted them? Yeah. And what about those women who, or those mothers who their family members are still missing? What do you want to tell them? Yeah. What about those who have been walking, going places and places and looking for this? What about those? Right? So I think it is something that every time is being mentioned, it will always bring those memories, and it will those wounds are not going to heal anytime soon. It will be with the country, with the government, for the longest time in the history of this country. And it will be one of those, it will be a history. It's a history already. you know Anytime that you will ask this question, or anytime that this conversation will come up on public, it will always open those wounds. I hope you remember the other day when the mother of the young guy, the boy who was shot dead, when he was being interviewed on one of the radio station, and he commented how the people who shot the son were not found, and even putting on the effort, but as compared to what happened to the member of parliament, on how, and he compared the life. So it is a conversation that I don't think will be ending anytime soon. Maybe before we go to the main discussion, Makubura, you can also put in your inputs, and Miguda too, so we can move forward.
Okay, thank you. What I can say is that there has been a disconnect between the leaders of the Republic of Kenya, the elected leaders, and the citizens.
Yeah.
And of course, that has always been, we've always seen that in many occasions. And sometimes even the president is not really ready to tackle that conversation, but then
Yeah.
it comes. If you remember, when the president visited Kisumu, that question was raised, and he
Yes.
said that his government, together with these people, they were not aware of the people who had abducted
Yeah.
the young people. And he said that if, for example, they knew of anyone, then maybe they would take their names. But again, the issue of those who were killed was also raised, and whether they'll get the justice or compensation from the government. According to him, he said that those people, some of them had been compensated. And so the same question was asked the other day, and he was caught off guard. And the comment that he gave was that he is assuring the Republic that that kind of abduction and everything will never happen under his watch.
Yeah.
And that, of course, is a clarification. If you are a student of history and if you're
Mm.
also a student of English or literature, then the comments of the president clearly clarifies one thing, that his government knew about the abduction which was going on, and he came out to say that going forward, it's not going to happen. But I also saw his cabinet secretary in charge of interior, Murkomen. He
Mm.
was trying to defend, saying that what the president was saying has been misunderstood. But the question is it not true that people were abducted? Is it not true that people were killed? Is it
Yeah.
not true that they've not gotten justice? Is
Mm-hmm.
it not true that there is a good number of people, families who have not received their people? So those are the questions. And the matter of fact here is that it is true, these things happened and it has not been tackled. Until this matter is going to be tackled to the end, that is when the emotions will never continue running whenever this question is brought up. Up to
Mm-hmm.
this point, it has not been tackled. Up to this point, the people of Kenya feel that the government is not with them. The
Yeah.
citizens are on their own. And for that reason, whenever the emotions are evoked, they come out to critically defend
Mm-hmm.
themselves and to criticize the government. So
Yeah.
until the government comes out and show the way and the plan that they have in
Mm-hmm.
solving the issue of abduction,
Yes.
showing solidarity with the families who lost their loved one, coming out to talk in a manner that we are with you, the citizens of the Republic of Kenya, and we are sorry about what happened. If you saw
Mm-hmm.
what happened in Parliament the other day during the death of the Member of Parliament of Kasipul,
Yes.
and before that, when this matter was brought in Parliament, you saw the conversation, heated conversation in the Parliament, and
Yeah.
the members of Parliament were not feeling sorrowful about that moment and
Mm-hmm.
everything which happened. And that anger is still with the people. Whenever they find the opportunity, whenever those emotions are reminded of them, then they pour it out and they do not want to know it is going to fall where. So it is upon the government and its machineries to ensure that they solve and they keenly look into this matter and give it a final, well thought, answered, way, so that the people of Kenya can somehow say that it happened. At least the government did something. It is not
Okay.
going to be easy for the
Mm-hmm.
people of Kenya to continue with this kind of lifestyle, because we've been in Kenya and we've always seen governments come and people are being killed during demonstration.
Yeah.
And during those demonstration, it is a core issue. It is something that people are discussing. But
Yeah.
immediately the people who are leading the demonstration, immediately they are called in government, they tend to forget about the people. And so the people are left outside, you know,
Okay.
fighting for themselves. And this is one of the issues that this time around it is not going to be a business as usual, but it is something that has to change.
Okay, thank you so much, Makobore, and I will also give Miguda to weigh in and about this. In life, especially, there's what we call the closure, and closure is usually something that is usually very, very, very important in life, especially when you lose your loved one. The point you bury this person, or you come to a closure, and by you burying that body, it confirms to you now my beloved person or my beloved family members is missing, or no, is dead, and you can see the grave. You can go and even do those celebration. The people who cement those graves to just to show love for the loved one who departed. But remember, the people who have lost their members of the family during the protest or through abduction, and they're nowhere to be seen, and they are walking, they are looking them everywhere. So there's not that closure is not with them, and they live that the mental torture, the emotional torture they go through, that. And when the president give like an answer and say that, okay, those who abducted, are already with their families, how does it feel, especially for or for them that are still missing their loved ones. They've not reached that closure moment. And that's why you will find most of the time what mothers usually say, that give me the body so I can go and bury home so that I can have that closure. By asking that body in that pain, they will say that, okay, now he can grieve in peace, knowing very well that my son has rested, or I can see the remembrance that he's resting here. The grave that have been cemented is resting here. But if the person is missing, to come to a closure is not very easy. Miguda, may you just weigh on that, and then we can jump into the discussion of the day.
I just wanted to point out one thing, that public officers, the reason why we have public officers and members of public, they are very much in stake that
Can you check you are too, we cannot, you are not audible. Hello, Miguda?
If you can you hear me right now?
Yes, you're good, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
I was saying there's a distinct between the public and the public officers. Now the public officers has a duty to ensure that they are protecting the lives of the public, and that's why they took an oath of office. So it's sometimes sad when you can hear a member of that high stature coming out to utter such words, and there are victims who have been affected by the activities or actions by the police officers. That is why we still insist that there should be responsibility. Once you have declared to be a leader, you must be responsible and you must take the liability of any life that was lost. If you can make it clear to the eyes of the public that indeed you understand your roles and duty, to that extent, at least most of the public can understand you. But you cannot purport to be the head of state at the same time you purport that everybody who was killed, people are focusing on the people who were abducted. But what about the people who were killed and the families? It's like people only they only focus on their private life or private family, my people, my
Yeah.
husband, my kids. What about the other people? If that is the case, then he ought to have resigned and leave for somebody who can make sure that he protect the lives of others. So I want just to state the issue of the people who have taken duties to serve in the public. They should be very careful on how they're dealing with the members of the public.
Okay, thank you so much. And let me take this opportunity to thank the following. Gibson Connor, thank you so much for joining us. Judith Carwitha, also thank you so much, including Brenda. Also, thank you so much for joining us. I believe and hope you are doing well wherever you are. And we just pray that for the families, because it's if you listen to somebody who has gone through that. One of the experience that I had, there was a time we wanted to do a documentary, especially for the post-election violence victims. Just we wanted to know how they were coping, and we went and we made all the arrangements and with the relevant authorities, and so it was the day that we were supposed to be having this conversation, and we went to the site. We had a director, and the very moment we rolled the camera, and like those questions that you start to know that, and they were just shedding tears. They could not talk, and it tells you that some of them are still not healed. you know you know s- Even you, as somebody who is going to have interview, you cannot, if you're in your best senses, and you want to have this interview, and the first thing you ask, what memories does it bring to you, that before they mention any word, they cry. It was not even one incident. They're about, because we had like three occasions, that because we wanted to compile that, and the three of them, same situations, just crying. So I think it's so sad anyway, but it's so sad. Thank you so much once again, Mr. Makobura. Thank you also so much for joining me. Good at too. Today we want to look at the issue. We want to look at the leadership of Kalonzo Musyoka, especially in the axis of Matiang'I and Wamunyoro. because I'm looking at the political field with the entrance of Wamunyoro and Matiang'I. I see the Kalonzo is fading off, is not being mentioned as somebody who is quite much important, although I know he is, but he does not have that favorable, that is not the favorable or favorite among Wamunyoro and in Wamunyoro and regard the axis. Then another thing, Kalonzo, in terms of seniority in politics, when you look at that group, they call it the loyal opposition. I think Kalonzo and Martha Karua are more senior. Yeah. And even when it comes to the positions that Honorable Kalonzo has held, Honorable Kalonzo has held so many high profile position, including second in command. But now when you look at Kinley in terms of the opposition, or in terms of those that are being mentioned in the social media, even those who might be deemed to be like opposition, Rigathi Gachagua take a center stage. Matiang'I, his name is being mentioned. So you find that Kalonzo, that likability or sellability, it's not coming out loudly. I don't know whether that is, I'm very wrong in my view. And let me know from you, Makobura, what do you think about, are you seeing Kalonzo being on the limelight or on the forefront, especially when you look at the Wamunyoro and regard the axis?
Okay. Okay, what I can say is that, politics require what we call consistency.
Yeah.
And consistency comes depending on the individual and how possible they are able to, come up with new ideas which are relevant and are making sense to the current generation.
Yeah.
If, for example, I try to compare Honorable Kalonzo to Raila Amolo Odinga, I see a difference in the sense that if you followed the politics of Raila, so many times he's made political decisions,
Yes.
which are not really popular. But towards the general election, he has always come up with something different, and he has always reasoned with the people to an extent that I would say he has always rebranded himself. We've not seen this in Kalonzo. And again, some of the political mistakes that we make, that the politicians make, they are carried forward, like the tag of Kalonzo that you remember at one point it was called watermelon, someone would not be trusted. So I think that tag has continued, but again, he's not been able to, uh, come up with new ideas which are resonating with the current, status quo and the current circumstances. So that is something that as he has not really perfected or worked on. And for that reason, we've seen young politicians coming up and rebranding and coming up with some ideas which are making sense to the society. If I give you an example of Fred Matiang'I, for example, if I give you an example of the governor of Trans Nzoia, I give you an example of the young men Morara and Kasmuel, for example. I give you an example of Wamunyoro. These are new entrants into the political limelight. But the force that they're coming out with, the language, the consistency, and also the population that the likes of Kalonzo, for example, the likes of Kalonzo tried to convince in 202, in 207, 2007. This is a different generation, and this generation understands things differently.
Yeah.
And for that reason, as time goes, a generation comes, you have to also you come up with new ideas which are making sense to the new generation. So this is something that I can say Kalonzo has not really perfected on, but I can also clearly say that he has always had support of his backyard, the Kamba Nation has always supported him. And it could be issues to do with transparency. Because the other day I saw a documentary by Kebaso Marara. There's an airstrip in Kitui that was supposed to be made, and actually, it's a project that was started during the reign of Kibaki. That is the time Kalonzo was the deputy president. And from his documentary, he said that around 50 million was given so that the project would start. But remember, that was under the leadership of Kibaki and Kalonzo. Up to date, around 250, 230, 240 million was dispersed for the same project. And up to date, it was not done. At some point, there are some members of parliament who are trying to follow up, and such kind of things tells you that the people on the ground, they will also give you their full support when they are, and be able to tell that during your time while you are in this position, you pushed for these developments, and these developments, we are seeing them, and in one way or another, they are assisting us. So Kalonzo has not really been very active politically, in the sense that he would then translate that consistency in acquiring more voters. And again, he's measured mostly in Cumberland. We've not seen him going to other areas to try get support of people from other areas. So that has been what I can say, the reason why he's not made it. He's not being talked. The people are not talking much about him.
Okay, thank you so much. And let me just, Laban Misiani saying something here. Hey, brother Benson, watermelon is good during the summer. We have no that season in Kenya. Thank you so much. And I know it's something, Marco Buddha, you say that coming up with new ideas. Yeah. Do you think that could be the case? That coming up with the new ideas, because ideas are being developed by people who might be around you. Sometimes you might not have those ideas. But if you look at Kalonzo Musyoka, His Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka has very bright people or very intelligent people that surrounds him, without mentioning the Mutula Kilonzo Jr., especially the governor. Those are the people who are surrounding. We have Robert Mbui. We have quite a number. We have Dan Manzo, who are very legal mind. But now when you come to the public, there's that vacuum that people would think he would occupy. Immediately after the Right Honorable Prime Minister started to work with the government, he could have come out to be very vocal, which is not being seen in him as compared to Gachagua. People prefer that Gachagua to speak on behalf, and that's why.
That is what I'm trying to explain, because I've said that consistency in politics is very vital. And that's why I'm saying that if Kalonzo had that consistency, he would have taken easily the opposition role, and he would be the one that the people of Kenya would be talking about today. But when Raila decided to join the government, Kalonzo was 50-50. He did not know whether to support Raila or continue supporting him. He did not know whether to join the government. He did not know whether to remain with the opposition. And these are some mistakes that he has made. In politics, you have to be very swift. You have to be very clear and very fast when making decisions. The faster you make the decision, the faster the people will get to know that these are your political stance. And going forward, this would be, the political character in this individual. So that is what Kalonzo has lacked, because he has not come out clearly to tell the people that we are in opposition, and he has not. Do I say there's this new term that is people are talking about? He has not injected that. Let me say so. He has not injected as much as he's been closer to these political big figures, and he fully understands them. He's not taking that opportunity. Kalonzo is playing that politics of diplomacy. But this should not be the case. The Kenyan politics and the environment is quite different. It does not allow the politics of diplomacy.
Okay, thank you so much, Miguda. What is your take, Miguda, on when you look at the the public and the responses, especially when you look at the loyal opposition, you find that Matiang'I and Rigathi Gachagua are taking the center stage. And even when they talk, especially, let's talk about Rigathi Gachagua, because Matiang'I just came the other day, and find like Rigathi Gachagua came in so much late immediately after his impeachment and took the center stage of the opposition, whereby everything is now left to Gachagua to punch more heavily, especially when criticizing the government as compared to Kalonzo Musyoka. What do you think is missing in him, and why do you think that the public does not even give him, like, he doesn't come the first among many, especially in the Wamunyoro and Matiang'I axis?
First, I would like to state that Kalonzo, unlike other politicians, is not crafty. And in the politics of this country, you must be crafty. Kalonzo is having that character of cowardice. At the same time, Kalonzo he can't match people like Rigiji, William Ruto, Raila Odinga. These are ruthless politicians. That's how you can do your politics in the country. And you have even seen the rising politicians like Babu Owino. They are doing very well because they have mastered the kind of politics in the country. Even if you have people that also have to deal with the opponent ruthlessly, that is lacking from Kalonzo. Kalonzo, there are many factors that cannot make him to be the flag bearer. He can never be flag bearer in whatever formation, either in Ruto's camp or in Rigathi's camp. And that's why there are rumors that he's actually negotiating for the position of the deputy president in Ruto's camp. What I want to say is that Rigathi Gachagua has come with that force because, one, Rigathi Gachagua understands the what you say the political dynamics of the country. Rigathi Gachagua, people presume that he's a newcomer, but he has been in the system. He worked for 20 years as the DO. He has been and now this mastered the art of the politics of the country. But Rigathi Gachagua is having upper hand. Even the coming of Matiang'I is not going to change anything. Rigathi Gachagua, number one, he has been consistent in criticizing William Ruto head on. You want people who are not cowards, such as the way Raila used to handle Uhuru Kenyatta and Moi Kibaki. You must face even the way they handled Moi until they were taken to detention. That is the kind of politics play for you to be taken serious in the country. That is why Babu Owino is the third popular person after Raila and William Ruto. Leave out Rigathi Gachagua before, but right now Rigathi Gachagua is also increasing because the art he has mastered as the student of politics of this country. What I want to say is that Rigathi Gachagua has a upper hand to carry that flag bearer in that team because Rigathi Gachagua has tried to go beyond Mount Kenya. Look at the meetings Rigathi Gachagua has tried to held. Rigathi Gachagua has gone to Masai and he has also engaged people like Seki. And Seki is likely to be the party chair of the new party. That is a Maasai. Rigathi Gachagua has gone back to Trans Nzoia and engaged people like Natembeya, his full soldiers. Actually, the coming of Matiang'I has been through the effort of Rigathi Gachagua. What is Kalonzo doing? Kalonzo is not doing anything. He just want to be there and wanted to be the flag bearer. Kalonzo cannot make it to the flag bearer position. Actually, he's not even going to make it to the deputy running mate for Rigathi Gachagua. Kalonzo atapangwa as the prime cabinet the way they used to, what they did to Davadi. Reason is, here, like I said yesterday, when we are where we're on the table discussing about positioning the country, Rigathi Gachagua is having almost 1 million votes from Kenya. Rigathi Gachagua is commanding almost 10 counties from Mount Kenya. Rigathi Gachagua has made effort to bring new friends from Masai, from Kisii, at the same time from Western region. And the reason why Natembeya has also been consistent head on with Ruto, you understand Trans Nzoia is cosmopolitan. There are Kikuyus in Trans Nzoia. So by the time he's fighting Ruto, he's gaining popularity not only among the Luya people, but also the Kikuyu nation in the Trans Nzoia county. That's why I tell people like Natembeya, people like Sifuna, these are very cunning politicians. They understand the game very well, and they are fast learners. In my view, lastly, Rigathi Gachagua, if things happen very well for him and it's going to be cleared by the Supreme Court and allowed to run, is likely is likely to persuade those people that he can run for the presidency against William Ruto. And that is why I want to also ride on Marco Bura's point. If you're a politician, you must be consistent and you must always ensure that you are relevant, whether people are talking to you negatively or positively. The fact that relevancy is consistent, then you are going to gain mileage, unlike Kalonzo. So Kalonzo, I can't I can't propose that it is going to be given on a silver platter because he's commanding like 3 counties. He's having 1.3 million votes. Why Matiang'I is having 3 million votes? Matiang'I is
Mm,
likely to play the second field. And it's a matter of negotiation in the table. What do you have? Money? Can you sponsor this presidential candidate? If you must have money, you must have
mhm.
the people, and also you must have capacity to go
Okay.
beyond your community. That is when you can be given that presidential ticket.
Okay. And thank you so much. And let me welcome One Dem 99. That position should be, yes, Kalonzo will be a good prime cabinet secretary, whatever that means. That position should be abolished. Okay. Thank you so much. And I hope, my brother, you are doing well wherever you are. Now, when you look at Kalonzo Musyoka, especially when it comes to the public, that public confidence or public having confidence in you. Um, uh, do you think he has it? Because when you look at history and how he has been making decisions, especially in very important things, he has been somebody who is sitting on the fence. You know, he usually sit on the fence, and like that's why, like, you find in the political, he has been nicknamed like watermelon. You know, that what our good friend Laban was talking about, watermelon. He's neither here or there. Do you think that one also has costed him in a way that the public always will look at him like, oh, this guy might betray us in last minute? uh, Migoda.
That is the point that is the point which I was omitting. Thank you for reminding me. When it comes to the public, I
Mm,
understand it very well that that's why I begin by stating that he's having that character of cowardice. He's
yeah.
never brave. He's
Mhm,
not bold. The reason why he's not bold, even when we are going for a war and
mhm,
when we are going to meet our enemies, what happened to when Raila Odinga was being sworn in, that mock swearing in at Uhuru Park?
yeah.
Kalonzo did not appear. He was missing in action. Such characters, people cannot trust you with power because you can be cornered to a certain extent and you can hand over that power to the opponent. You,
Mhm,
you cannot be a general. A
mhm.
general must be someone who
Okay, we lost you, Mr. Miguda. Okay, thank you so much, Miguda. As you fixed your internet and your audio, let me engage Makobura. Makobura, we were talking about sitting in the fence, and you know that has been always in the public domain, especially when you talk about or having a conversation about Kalonzo Musyoka. And even the other day, you remember, Morara was accusing him that during the day he's with the loyal opposition, and during the night is visiting Mr. President. How do this one sit with the people of Kenya? And the people do you think people can trust him with that high profile office, like to be like a flag bearer to face the president, or he might face the president at the end of the day. Ikifika ile siku president anamwambia bwana, si wewe ukuje tufanye kazi, na that's the end of it.
Okay, maybe if I can finish the point of Megoda, he was talking
how
about a gen.
how do you know what Ugoda was thinking, Makobur?
I know where he was heading. He was talking about a general, and he
Yeah.
was equating Kalonzo as a general.
Mhm.
I would also want to say that he has to be like a general, just like Megoda was saying. A general
Yeah.
has to be someone who gives command, and you give commands that you believe in,
Mhm.
commands that are going to make changes.
Mhm.
Whether before making decisions, sometimes making decisions are not easy, but are you able to stand with the decisions that you made, no matter popular or unpopular they are? Do you believe in the decisions? So that is what Kalonzo has been lacking. And again, just like what you've said, sitting at the fence, trying to wait and see kumeendaje, wamemaliza, in as a leader, it is so unfortunate And what I can say is that that is a character that should not be there in leadership because okay. And Gypsy Icon, I've seen your comment, and I also saw someone saying that you're in Nairobi. I'm wondering why you're in Nairobi and you can't even let me know, let us know. I hope if you're in Nairobi, you have to buy a tea somewhere in Sarova or any other place. Yeah. So a leader has to be someone who is consistent, just like I'd said.
Mhm.
And Kalonzo can make a good leader. That I can assure you, because one thing that I liked about Kalonzo is the diplomacy way of doing things. It's a good thing, and that shows that he's a good leader. But the problem is,
Makubura, let
yeah,
me sorry for cutting you short. Okay, is very good when it comes to diplomacy, but what about diplomacy without trust? That
that is
trustworthiness,
where I'm
then
coming.
reality. So where
That
does
is where
everyone play a major role?
that's where I was coming, and that's why I'm saying that he can make a good leader, because normally in the world, leaders with diplomacy, character or way of leadership, if
Mhm.
suppose he was running as he was the president of Kenya currently, we would see him trying to make peace with the parents who lost their families. We would see him coming out to give clarifications
Mhm.
on the injustices that were that were there, especially during the Gen Zs.
Yep.
That is one thing. And leaders are leaders. People have different characters and different behaviors. So that is one thing that I see positive, that is positive in him,
Mhm.
because he's someone who will bow down to pressure when there's
Yep.
too much pressure from the ground.
Yep.
We saw him during that time, and even in his leadership, in his quest of when he's been planning, I mean, going for presidency or deputy presidency.
Yep.
We've always seen him whenever there's too much pressure, he will always call his troops and tell them that let us address this. And that's nice for leadership. But again, the environment, the
Yeah.
Kenyan environment, the political
Mhm.
environment in Kenya does not currently favor or does not entertain such kind of characters. For you to survive, you have to.
So now when you look talking about the political the right now, it doesn't entertain a character of very good diplomacy or
Yeah,
somebody who doesn't punch, like go straight to the point.
yes. And that is why Gachagua just came the other day, and when people thought he was going to vanish into the politics of the Republic of Kenya,
Mhm.
the style of his politics has made him relevant into the Kenyan politics. And that is what is currently needed. If you see people are injecting, both those who are outside, those who are non-politicians,
Yeah.
even the citizens, they are also injecting at their capacity. And
Mhm.
Kenyan politics, for you to gain that trust of the people, we want to
Yeah.
see, I mean, the people wants to see you, that are you able to talk to the presidency? Are you able to come out and tell him that you are, the other day you promised us this and you've not done this, you are a thief, such kind of words which are coming without fear. That is the kind of politics. And again, the activism in the Kenyan politics
Yeah.
has changed how
Mhm.
politics in Kenya is being played, because Kenya is the only country where everyone is active.
Mhm.
Citizens are active. If you want to do something that is wrong, washa kupiga picha, na hiyo picha na video imewekwa mahali. Even if they don't tell you that you did this,
Uh,
the entire country will get to know it. And
yeah.
that is politics. So the
Like
dynamics,
our politics, just to add on what you said, sorry, Mr. Bura, our politics, immediately we vote, we get the president, the following day we start politicking until the way we are going back to we are going to vote. So it is 24/7 politics.
yeah, and you have to be ready for that politics. It is a politics that do not allow you to relax. Ukirelax for 1 month, time unarudi unapata vitu zimebadilika. I was watching a clip
Yes.
where Kamket
Yes.
used to be a KANU member, and he
Yeah.
was actually a member of parliament.
Mhm.
He used KANU. as a party, but
Mhm.
sometimes back he shifted and went to Jubilee. I mean,
UDA.
to UDA.
Mhm.
Yeah, I saw him addressing Gideon Moi, and he was telling Gideon Moi that, when you mimi wakati nilikuwa KANU niliona mambo hayaendi vizuri, and then siasa pia ilikuwa imechemka, and so I
Mm.
just wanted to be relevant with what was going on, and so I shifted and I went to UDA, and he
Mhm.
was now telling Gideon that the syllabus, the Kenyan's political syllabus has changed,
Mhm.
and even he was trying to put it this way, that those who are in opposition, the chief opposition is currently now
Mm.
in government and is like a co-president. And he was also reminding him that you are with him. Now,
Yep.
why are
Yep.
you still outside? And your opposition leader is within government, and the person who was elected by the people of Kenya as the
Mhm.
deputy, that is
Mhm.
Honorable Gachagua, is
Mhm.
currently out of the government, playing
Mm.
the role of
Opposition.
playing the role of opposition, and so the syllabus has changed. So
Okay.
Kenyan politics is played in a way that ukinyamaza kidogo, ukiteleza kidogo, they don't wait for you. Ukirudi utapata imeenda mbele, and you have
Mm.
to catch up with them. So you have to use a lot of energy to catch up with them, and this is
Is
part of
is it
what
using a lot of energy, or being very tactful and strategic in a way? Because if you see President William Ruto,
when
he has always been very strategic, and focusing ahead. Maybe is a thinker ahead of his competitors, because I think the very moment that he was elected to be the MP, he knew what he wanted, and see how he has maneuvers the politics, with all his strategy. Does Kalonzo
you
have
know
that?
you know what, brother Ben.
Yeah.
I want to give you a typical explanation that would
Mhm.
give you would explain to you what Kalonzo needs to do.
Yes.
If you remember, while the deputy president then, the current president then, was in the government of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta,
Mhm.
when he saw that the president was not really reasoning well with him,
Mhm.
as much as he was still in that government, he came out and said that as much as I'm in government, I'm in opposition, and these are our stance. If you remember the BBI, and the president was advocating for the BBI, Raila Amolo Odinga, and with his troops. You remember how powerful that government was. They were all
Mhm.
advocating for BBI. But William Samoei Ruto stood up and said that, I think this is not the right time for us to implement this. Let us
Mhm.
first tackle the issues which are affecting the people of Kenya, according to him. And he gave a list. He said that the cost of living is too high. There are
Mhm.
so high issues of taxes. Let us do infrastructure. Let us remember the 10 agenda points that they had with the Jubilee. And
Mhm.
according to him, he said that when
Yeah.
we solve these problems and we tackle as per the agenda we had, the
Yeah.
people of Kenya would be in a better place. They will not actually want to even amend the constitution and everything that was being proposed by the BBI. That
Yeah.
is consistency, that is leadership, and that is having a stand. Let
Okay.
me give you another example. When William Ruto was sworn in as the president,
Yeah.
from day one, he started calculating for 2022 because he wants to get his term
2027,
two.
I mean.
Part of his calculation, he saw it. Why is that? The way things are going, and with this deputy president, he's not going to manage. He's going to, the deputy president ni kama atakuwa namrudisha nyuma. And for that
Yeah.
reason, he did a clear calculation. And within
Mm.
no time, when no one really expected that Gachagua would be out, he's currently
So,
out and he's
mhm.
not the deputy president. And if you remember what the court just pronounced itself the other day, these are things which are confusing because watu hata wamefika point yenye wanajiuliza this this impeachment, how did it happen within this small period of time? And now the court is now trying to look at it and is seeing that things were not really done in the right manner. So
Mhm.
that tells you what kind of person that they want to battle with, and it is not going to be easy for them if they did not take their time to start calculating and having ways on how they are going to capture power in the next election. That is how bad Kenyan politics is. It is something that you wake up,
Mhm.
and it's a calculation that is continuous.
Okay, thank you so much. And we want to also to look something about the sellability and sellability, believability, especially when it comes to Kalonzo Musyoka and Matiang'I, and how Kalonzo Musyoka, I would say, that has gone through a political, do I say that political challenges. Remember when Azimio was being formed, or Azimio were looking for people to deputize Raila Amolo Odinga, and having worked with Raila Amolo Odinga for the longest time, look at what he went through, especially to be interviewed, yeah, on somebody like Kalonzo, who has the political experience, who has held so many high offices, you know, and would just go through that. The process of that Azimio by that overlooked that, and we are also again facing this coalition that is called the loyal opposition, which will be a coalition, which also will be looking at who should we confront to run for the presidency. So here we will be looking at likability. How likable is he, especially beyond his region, going to Nyanza? How is likable going to Coast, going to other areas? How is that? Then you bring in Matiang'I again. You look at the sellability, likability beyond the areas that they're coming from, because politics is all about, first of all, you have to consolidate your region. And that's even like when Gachagua was having an interview, he said that he will support Matiang'I, but first of all, you have to go home and make sure that you have solid people behind you. So when you look at the two, when you're looking at the sellability, acceptability, and believability in that axis, do you feel that Kalonzo has higher percentage amongst them, bearing in mind the experience he has served, and the times he has been in the political field?
What I can say, Brother Ben, is that Kalonzo is experienced as a politician.
Yeah.
That I agree. But
Mhm.
one thing that we also have to put in consideration is
Yes.
more of the people who are going to vote, they are youths. And
Mhm.
most of them are actually Gen Zs and millennials.
Yeah.
And I can tell you one thing, that most of the Gen Zs
Mhm.
did not really understand the politics of Kalonzo, because majority of them started voting in 2013,
Yeah.
2017,
Mhm.
and 2022. And that is the, if you look at the population of the Republic of Kenya, majority of them, of course, are millennials and the Gen Zs.
Mhm.
So if you ask, for example, the Gen Zs, they're the people who are currently injecting in social media.
Yeah.
And of course, that can influence how the politics of 2022 is going to be played.
Yes.
I can tell you, majority of them, as much as they hear Kalonzo was a deputy president and partly they were there, but they did not really understand how politics was being played at that particular time. Majority
Mhm.
of them started understanding politics in 2013,
Mhm.
and partly the reason why you see most of the Gen Zs advocating for Matiang'I is because Matiang'I, in one way or another,
Yes.
influenced part of some things which
Mhm.
affected the Gen Zs in one way or another.
Yes.
If you come to, for example, the side of education, they experienced. There's a good number of them who experienced during the reign of Matiang'I, while he was serving under the docket of education. More of the things that he did influenced so much in the education sector. And as much as people are still young, students, pupils, they would be told of the cabinet secretary Matiang'I and how he
Okay.
would do things. See,
Can I ask you there, when you talk about influence?
yes.
Yes, and maybe experiencing some of, maybe they experience what Matiang'i has done. And when you take that analogy, then bring it to the Raila Odinga, yeah? Remember when people were going on street, the Gen Z, one of them said that, okay, Baba, stay home. You've been fighting for this for so long. And some of them did not experience Raila Odinga leadership or what Raila Odinga did, but
Yeah.
they read it. It was a history. Why
Let
is
me
it that?
let,
Do,
let
yeah,
me tell you why that is different.
yeah.
The reason why that is different is, you
Mm,
know, we were born, most of us were born. Personally, I
yeah.
was born when I was born, and the name Raila was everywhere. And
Yes.
I remember those days, there were some caps. I don't know how they were made, and
Mm,
they would be written Agwambo Tosh. I did not really know, but
mm,
actually, that those days I knew, if
mm,
you if you are someone who was coming from the Luo land,
Yeah.
personally, I knew he was the president because everyone was speaking about Aguambo. I did not know he was no one in the government. So
Yeah.
come again to 2007, that is
Mhm.
partly when most Gen Zs and millennials would then understand the politics of Kenya. Of
Mhm.
course, we are being told, and partly some of us we were there, as much as we really did not know how things were operating,
Yeah.
but we partly understood what was going on.
Mhm.
We understood that, of course, Raila won, and that sympathy. People wanted to know how comes he won, and he was not given this seat. And
Mhm.
again, we also went to school. We studied these things called history, social
Yes.
studies in primary, and also in high school, history and geography,
Yes.
partly giving a detailed explanation on the role that has been played by this individual. Raila's name is also in those books, and I
Mhm.
can tell you they give a clear clarification of the role that he has played. Come to 2013,
Yeah.
Raila has been actively involving the people of Kenya in demonstration. And every Gen Z, of course, they know the role that Raila has played. Come to 2017, the consistent demonstration and even the nullification of the election. Come to 2022, the consistent demonstration and attempts of assassination and such kind of things. So
Yeah.
Raila's name and him being an activist, if his activism way of playing politics
Mhm.
has made him the household name in the Republic of Kenya. And again,
Okay.
if you go, for example, to the Mount Kenya region,
Mhm.
his activism
Yeah.
is also being recognized there. As much as he's never gotten the support of those places,
Mhm.
but people would tell you that Raila atapinga kila kitu. Raila at least angekuwa angeenda kwa koti saizi bei ya mafuta ingerudi.
Ingerudi.
Raila angekuwa angesema the cost of living is too high, and so he's
Yeah.
a household name. That is one thing we have to accept. But
Yeah.
Kalonzo, since 2013, have you seen
Mm.
him actively getting involved? So this is a question that we have to agree. But
Mm.
what I can say, unless you are someone who do an analysis of politics, you are someone who engages and understand the politics of the Republic of Kenya, that
Mm.
is when you will fully. I'm talking on behalf of the young people, these Gen Zs who are going to vote for the first time or the second time.
Yeah.
Majority, especially the ladies, some of them have not been following politics and they do not know until the other day when when the politics of Gen Z's the other day started coming up. That is
Mm.
when people started getting to understand the politics of each people who are being fronted by the people of Kenya.
Okay, thank you so much. And let me take this opportunity to thank the following Mr. E27. Thank you so much for joining Brother Benson. And also, I'm seeing Sosa Rabiero. Thank you so much for joining. And Gibson Connor, also, thank you so much for inviting our new guests. And we appreciate you for that. This is Brother Benson, where your opinion counts. Mr. Miguda, we lost you. And I hope now you've fixed everything. Are you okay? Hello, Miguda.
Hello, can you hear from me?
Yes, sir.
Am I clear?
Yeah, very much, sir.
If in case of anything, you can inform me.
Okay.
I don't know at what point did you lost me?
Yeah, I lost you. Then Makobura here promised us that he's going to give decision of your bills because, like, your thought of trail worth, you
I
think the
did
same.
finish his. I did
You also,
finish his comment. He was speaking about Kalonzo needs to be like a soldier, and he needs to be giving uh, valid leadership in terms of as the head of soldiers.
okay. So, maybe if so, do you agree with Makobura? Because Makobura, all that he said was your thought. He was thinking for you, or and Gibson Connor asked, he did know that you are doing.
Actually, Makomura has tried. Makomura, congratulations, you really tried. But that was not what was Actually, you are just trying to connect what was going on. What I was saying is that Kalonzo Musyoka, we understand that if you are going to war, there's that general,
Mm,
the head of the troops.
mm,
You must be someone who's courageous, someone who's bold, someone who can face opponent at whatever angle. And those
yes.
traits are not in Kalonzo Musyoka. And I was giving an example with the current president, William Ruto. And I was very clear that even though I disagree with him ideologically, and even him, he knows that I don't support his ideologies. So
Mm,
even though I disagree with him ideologically, but I believe that he's one of the people whom you can go with in war because
okay.
of his bold character. What I actually, before I came for this show, I was calling someone from Morema, a friend
Yes.
of mine who is
Mhm,
carrying out his studies at the University of Nairobi main campus. And
mhm,
he told me that very soon they are going to launch their political party, that for Rigathi Gachagua. And he told me he will also brief me on the whereabouts of the political party. So I think that day we will talk during that launch of the party. What I want to say that by the time Uhuru Kenyatta had already surrendered the
mhm,
presidency to Raila Odinga, and Uhuru Kenyatta said, okay, I'm willing to go to Ishaweri. Let Mzee continue with the work because we have lost squarely.
yeah.
William Ruto moved from his current residence as the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya to State House. And he made sure that he insisted that we have won the elections and we are going
Mhm,
back to these elections, which has been pronounced by the court. And he took Uhuru Kenyatta from State House to Bama, where they had their meet. Then they addressed the members of the public and their supporters. That
yes.
character, that incident alone can
Yes.
define to you the person I was referring to as a bold person. Because if the head of the state, then Uhuru Kenyatta, has already surrendered and was willing to give Raila power, but the deputy forced Uhuru Kenyatta to serve the second term. Such character we haven't seen from Kalonzo Musyoka. Therefore, if you want to put Kalonzo Musyoka in the mix of Rigathi Gachagua, uh, people like Matiang'I, Natembeya, and you want to propose him as the
Mhm,
presidential candidate, I
mhm,
believe that the person who should face Kasongo must be someone who is ruthless like him, must be someone who is ready for anything, must be someone who is even ready to make such utterances. Because Kasongo is currently is pretending because he's the president as the symbol of the national unity of the Republic of Kenya. But when it comes to politics, is gifted in propaganda, is gifted in lies, is gifted in even making some utterance, even abuses. You can make
mm,
some words which if you're not keen as his opponent, you can run mad. So we need someone like, for instance, we need someone like Rigathi Gachagua who does not care. People like Raila Odinga who does not care. People like
uh-huh,
such
Brother
such
Ben,
such characters. But someone like Kalonzo, if you one the other time you saw when Ruto just
yeah,
make pronouncement that the where his resident is at Yata was
yeah,
supposed to be the NYS farm. Kalonzo
yeah.
was seen at the decided headquarters recording a statement. Those were just political utterances. So such person I don't believe can send William Ruto home. If today you can declare Kalonzo as the
Mm,
person you are going to support, then
mm,
William Ruto will just have an holiday. He'll
mhm.
come up to vote for his second term.
Okay. Thank you so much. And
Brother
we
Ben,
want
if
to
you're
look at.
keen, I think I think you've
Okay.
just heard that I was reading the mind of Miguda because the
Yeah.
exact thing is explained is what I also said.
Yeah. Okay, now we want to look at the unlucky Kalonzo Musyoka. And this one, you have to bring it back to the times of Moi era. Remember, Kalonzo Musyoka was one of those who were believed to be the insiders and the people who were trusted with the late President Daniel Arap Moi. And when Uhuru Kenyatta came into the play, remember, and Uhuru Kenyatta was nominated, and that's where Kalonzo ran away from Moi, and they came to form a government with Kibaki. Then he came no before forming a government, he ran as a president when people were still talking like kidogo hivi, Kibaki akamuita akawa deputy ama akawa vice president. Then kutokea hapo ikawa wakakuja huku ODM. So now, what happens if you look at his life? He's one person that has always had the ambition to be the president, but along the way, things doesn't work for him. Remember the agreement they signed with Raila Amolo Odinga that Raila was going to run for only one term, then the following year he's going to be the presidential candidate, and that was not honored, and he got mad out of it. Then when Azimio was formed, he had to come late into the making decision late. Do you see that, and that scenario still continues, especially based on his experience? And now we are in the loyal oppositions. They are looking at who should they have for the presidency.
Am I supposed to give the comment or Miguda?
Any of you?
Okay. Thank you. Maybe let me acknowledge the presence of Alex Bundi at the comment section. Thank you so much, Alex.
The Alex, I think, is one of our good friends. Is called Alex. I think I know him.
Yeah,
I
so
might
we
be
are
wrong, but I know him very well.
I'm just acknowledging his presence, and also he's taken his time to also give us his thought. And here we say that your opinion counts.
Yeah.
So maybe to remind our viewers, those of you who have not subscribed, this is Brother Benson Media. Here we say that your opinion counts. You can support us by subscribing to this channel, because if you do so, it is a way of supporting us, and we'll really, really appreciate. Yeah, so you've spoken about Kalonzo making decisions at the last minute.
Yeah.
It could be a tactful move by him to survive. You know, if you look at Kenyan politics, there are a good number of politicians who have always played that kind of politics, and they have succeeded. Let me give you an example of the former Rarieda member of parliament.
Rafael.
What is it? Raphael Tuju. You know, Raphael Tuju was one of the most trusted by Raila Amolo Odinga. But when he left Raila, no one really knew that he would survive in politics. And there are so many political moves that he made when he joined. When he was appointed by Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, no one knew that he would survive. He would,
No,
would still come back in politics.
That's appointment. But now, in terms of elective, was he elected?
Yeah. I'm coming back to you. And you know, one of those people currently, you know, there's a problem in Siaya, and people are coming up, and there's a number of people that, you know, people are starting to mention. Part of the names that are currently appearing is one of Raphael Tuju, and they're saying that he can be a good manager of that county. So that tells you, politics, it depends with how you play it. There are times that, you know, you make decisions which, according to the supporters or people around you, they might see it as, you know, you've made a decision that is going to politically finish you. But again, your moves can sometimes also help you. We've seen Mutua, who is the current Labour cabinet secretary. You know, look at the politics of Mutua, the politics that he has played. After he was appointed as the spokesperson of, you know, the government of Kibaki, he came out and supported. During the first term, he supported Kalonzo Musyoka, and under that, under his party, he came as a governor. But along the way, he started, you know, alianza kutafuta. Is he going to still continue with that kind of politics? And if you can remember those days, it was very difficult for someone to survive in Ukambani while you were not supporting, Kalonzo during 2013. During 2017, he came out, of course, and he captured again his seat, and he managed to work as a governor in his second term. Come to 2022, he was one of the people who had given so many accusations to William Samoei Ruto while he was serving as a deputy. The moves that he made towards the election really surprised people. And today he is a cabinet secretary, he is still relevant, and he's still continuing. So what I can say is that politics is a matter of calculation.
Okay.
But what really matters, of course, is the kind of calculation that you play. There's those calculations which are going to finish you politically, but again, there are those that are going to help you
Okay.
in your future political moves.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone that are those who are watching and those who are commenting. Alex, we can send you the link. I think you're Alex because I usually like your arguments. We've come with you from very far. We can share with you the link so that you can come and at least assist us in having conversation. We will really appreciate. Now, let's talk about the networks that that Kalonzo have, even the friends, because when it comes to the presidency, in case if you look at the axis that is there in Wamunyoro, and you look at just in case in the event that Kalonzo Musyoka is given that flag bearer, I mean, to run for, does he have uh, resources to run it? Does he have friends both locally and internationally? Because it requires, when you look at him, does he have connection? Miguda, what do you think about that?
First, before I respond to your question, I'll also like to remind Marco Bura that politics indeed need calculation, not just calculation. Politics need a cold calculation. It must be cold. That is when it's politics, not other calculation. I personally, I don't believe that Kalonzo can marshal resources and also can marshal friends beyond Kambani. Not that he doesn't have friends. The friends he's having beyond Kambani are loyalists to some people. For instance, he's now friending Babu Owino. Babu Owino is Raila's loyalist. Where is loyalist other than other people's loyalists? You need to have friends who are pro Kalonzo in whatever circumstances beyond Ukambani. And also the issue of resources. And this one I want to state categorically that the reason why Kalonzo was never nominated to be Raila's running mate was because of one, resources. If he could be resourceful, then he could be the one running. He could be given the running mate. That's why he was taken through interview. It was strategic because Dama confessed to us by the time we were supporting the NASA coalition that if it were not for him, he's the one who paid for Kalonzo because they asked Kalonzo, "What do you have? Now you want to be the running mate for Raila Odinga. What do you have?" Then it forced Dama to come in to marshal some resources for Kalonzo to be nominated. That's how this politics works. Other than what we want as the formula, maybe tribalism, maybe major tribes merging together. There are other things like resources, there are other things like friends, there are other things like network, what you have talked beyond your community. How many votes can you command beyond the company? And that's why someone has to come in and paid for Karoa. And the person who paid for Karoa is well known. I don't want to disclose his name here. That's why Karoa was made Raila's running mate for the last election. Kalonzo, in my view, Kalonzo is a leader. He has been, there is where he can play. There are roles that people can play. People like Kalonzo can play second field to neutralize and balance the equation, what he did to Moi Kibaki. People like Kalonzo can play position like prime cabinet secretaries to neutralize, though it is unconstitutional. People like Mudavadi can play such roles like maybe prime cabinet secretaries, yes. And there are people who can play the role of opposition, and there are people who can also play the role of presidency. And we have also seen right now, when Raila and his troop get into the government, there was that vacancy which was left in the opposition. And it is being filled automatic by Rigathi Gachagua. So these are things that are natural. They just come out of nature. You can't force them. You can't force yourself to be Raila. You can't be Raila. It's Raila alone. You can't force yourself to be Rigathi Gachagua. He is Rigathi Gachagua. Now, if you want to rank among the opposition leaders currently, put Raila out of the context. Rigathi Gachagua comes up, then Kalonzo and other two can follow. Why is it happening? And Kalonzo has been in opposition in long time compared to Rigathi Gachagua. It's because there is role that Kalonzo is intended by the nature to play in the politics of the country. Therefore, by trying to force him to fit that shoes, he cannot freeze. And also, other than the issue of, we have talked about the issue of network beyond the community and resource. Also, it is very important to marshal your community behind you. Within Ukambani, there are people who are opposed to Kalonzo leadership within Ukambani alone. And if you can go to Mount Kenya, even though there is divergent opinion, but at least the people, the electorates are more compared to Kambani. The Kambani electorates are fewer. And that's why when it comes to the issue of choosing a flag bearer in that team, Kalonzo Musyoka, the way you have just described him as he is unlucky. And that's why there are rumors that he has been negotiating to play second field for William Ruto in the forthcoming election. Why is he doing so? Because he understands very well. Like him, he has got no problem. He understands himself. He knows what he can do and what he cannot do. That's why he was busy negotiating to Ruto that I can be your running mate in the forthcoming election so that you can leave the Luo nation and the Meru people out of the context. I think that is my humble submission.
Okay, thank you so much. Makubura, do you have anything to add about His Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka?
Maybe I agree with the comments of Negoda because just like he has put it, it's a game of numbers, it's a game of finance, it is a game of who you know and actually that's all about it. And it also depends. It requires someone who is crafty in the sense that someone who can when needed to attack, you can easily attack without questioning how.
Yes.
And again, he also needs to try to unite his community so that come the next general election. I can tell you currently there are so many parties in Ukambani which are coming up. And if you watched the burial of the late member of parliament of Kasipul, Mudhama, the former senator, who was part of those who crafted for William Samoei Ruto's party and did all they needed for William Ruto to survive and to clinch to power. He came out the other time and he said that he's going to work with Raila Amolo Odinga and akasema ya kwamba raundi hii bado atafanya to the same thing alifanya huko na ata ensure that he works with Raila Amolo Odinga, that is loyal, soldier, and is coming back home. So that tells you, with Mudhama being on the other side, Mutua being in the other side, Ngilu being on the other side, and those are the senior politicians from Mukambani side. And not just that, you remember there were other other people who are coming with some other parties, like the Green, Dr. Kilwa. This, he's coming with a different party. So he needs to find a solid support from Ukambani so that he can use that support to negotiate for these bigger positions.
Okay, thank you so much, Makobura, and thank you everyone who is on the comment section for engaging with us. We want to check or look into what will be happening on the 15th. I think it's 15th is 2 days from today. The deputy president will be launching his party. Maybe if you can just give us your thought. What do you think is going to happen when he launches his party? On who do you expect to be there? Are we going to see massive walkout from UDA on that day? And what do you think?
Let me respond to that one.
Yeah. Okay,
I'm responding. I was saying, I actually begin by telling you that I was having a candid conversation with a certain lecturer in the University of Nairobi main campus. The reason why I was having that candid discussion is because of the forthcoming launching of that party. Because previously, before 2022 election, when we were engaging with him, he told me that UDA is going to win the presidency. He predicted correctly, but I was in denial. Actually, he even came to me to register me as a UDA member. I was still in denial. And that's the love we have had for Raila. And we have been warning people who are coming here to lecture us about Raila. They should stop it because we know Raila more than they know Raila. So let us play our politics independently without being compromised by anybody. So
Yes.
when this person, I declined the registration to be a UDM member,
Mhm.
but all the predictions came to pass. So
Yes.
today I was engaging him. I was like, previously you predicted correctly. Now what's going to happen? He told me that they are going to launch the Wamunyoro party, and now they are expecting massive, massive exodus from UDA. That is
Yes.
electorates, leave alone leaders. They're expecting massive exodus from UDA to
Mhm.
Wamunyoro party, and
Yes.
they are just going to begin registration immediately. And he was also proposing to me that maybe if I can register, but I told him no, we still have a long way to go, even to have to belong to other members of political party. So what I can just say that there are very much anticipation from the electorate because people are eagerly waiting for Rigathi Gachagua to give them a green light where they belong to. Because right now, people of Mount Kenya, they are like, they don't have the political parts. Unlike
Yes.
other regions, whereby the company, we have Wiper, the Luo Nation, ODM, the Kalenjin, UDA, and even Natembeya and other people from that local small, there's Fort Kenya, there's DAP. Now they want their identity. I think they
Yes.
are very much anticipating to identify themselves with one political party. That one must be noted down. At the same time, they are also anticipating to begin massive registration of the political membership of the political party. That is the new political party. So they have some activities to carry out that day, launching, other than launching, and also that registration. And they are going to deploy their people to, even to Nyanza, because it's a new political party. You need to move to Nairobi, Ukambani, Masai, Rift Valley. Those are the things that we are expecting to see in some days coming. I think that is how I can put it.
Makobura, what is your take for the launching of the new party that will be done by Honorable Rigathi Gachagua?
What I know is that there is going to be a huge crowd because I understand one thing with Rigathi is a mobilizer,
Yes.
and he has a team that is also doing mobilization. And I'm quite sure that there's going to be a huge number of citizens because from the politics that we are currently seeing and how politics is being played,
Mm.
there's there's a good number of Mount Kenya residents who are not in support of the government of William Samoei Ruto. And
Mhm.
out of that hunger, I know majority of them are going to come out in support
Yes.
of
Yep.
one
Mm.
of their own party, and to sympathize and to also, just sympathize with the former deputy president. One thing
Mhm.
that I can also say is that there's an option, there's a possibility of members who wants to defect from UDA going to come
Mhm.
for this launch. But again, that would then depend with how, that would depend with the individual members of parliament,
Yeah.
because when you are seen attending such kind of a rally, then that would mean that, for example, those in UDA, they can delete your name from their party list, and that can warrant what we call by-election in that
Mm.
specific constituencies. So there are those members of parliament who are that bold to that extent that they will still show up for this.
Yeah.
Na watajiambia that let what is going to come, let it come. But
Okay.
again, that would also be a political test to the UDA. Should members of parliament of UDA join this, will they have the courage of removing them from their register? And that would mean that there would be by elections that would be planned in that area. Do they have that courage to face the new party in the Mount Kenya region in a by elections? So it is there's those possibilities. But of
Okay.
course,
Oh,
that would then depend with the political goodwill of the said members.
So, but when you look at your assessment, especially ever since Rigathi Gachagua was impeached, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you so much. When you look at the assessment, especially the events that have been, how the events have been unfolding, especially in Mount Kenya, ever since Rigathi Gachagua was impeached, there are those who are for him and those who are after him, not for him again. But now we have Jubilee that is being led by former President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Um, uh, how is that one going to play? Yeah, because you see people like Wambogo Gunjiri was saying that with him, he's supporting the president. He's supporting the president.
What I can say is that it is still early
Mm-hmm.
because we still have like 2 or 3 years to the general election. And, the ground so far, what we saw, we've been seeing a ground that is rejecting the president, rejecting the UDA party. But again, there is also a new ground that is coming up in the Mount Kenya
Yes.
region. Remember, the Jubilee Party is a Mount Kenya political party. And
Mm-hmm.
for that reason, Jubilee Party is fronting a candidate for 2027 general election in the name of Fred Okengo Matiang'I.
Yeah.
What does that tell you? Fred Okengo Matiang'I, under the Jubilee Party,
Yes.
is currently in coalition with the impeached deputy president, that is the Wamunyoro. So I would say that there's a good political goodwill between the Jubilee Party and the new Wamunyoro Party. And it is going to be, there's going to be a negotiation between the two parties on how they are going to play their politics, especially in the Mount Kenya region.
Yeah.
Because the Jubilee Party is officially owned by the former president, and this is also owned by the Wamunyoro. So they will have an agreement on how they're going to play the Mount Kenya region politics, but that again would depend on the person that they would settle on to run for presidency, whether Fred Matiang'I or Wamunyoro, because so far from what we are seeing, the Wamunyoro party is more of it is going to be dominant in the Mount Kenya region. The Jubilee party was dominant in the Mount Kenya region, but it had spread its grounds in other parts of the Republic of Kenya, and it is partly known in other areas. And for that reason, that is why they even settled on Fred Okengo Matiang'I as their presidential candidate. So
Yeah.
what we're waiting to see is how Jubilee is going to continue playing its politics on trying to unite the people of the Republic of Kenya and bringing new people into that party. And again, we are going to wait and see how the Wamunyoro party is also going to incorporate its members and to try to spread its roots to other parts of the Republic of Kenya. That would then define the politics that is going to be played in the Mount Kenya region between the two parties. But what again I can say is that it is going to be tough for those who are going to remain in UDA. That is, should Jubilee Party decide to work with Wamunyoro, I'm seeing a possibility of them going to fully lock the Mount Kenya region, and it's going to be tough for the UDA supporters to convince the Mountaineers on why they believe they need to bring back, I mean, to support the re-election of the president. Because if you can remember, there was there was this, I mean, the politics that has been played by both the Jubilee Party and the Wamunyoro Party. They have always said that they are sorry to their people, and you've seen them even asking the Wamunyoro asking for forgiveness from their people, saying that I wish I knew, I wish I listened to the former president who is one of us. And in so many instances, he's praised the former president, saying how nice he was and how human he is.
Yes.
And you know how personal Wamunyoro has gone. I
Okay.
can tell you that he has captured, and with that narrative, politics of the Republic of Kenya are emotionally driven. and he has reached, he has, he has convinced the people of the mountain through that emotion, and majority of them would support the Wamunyoro party and the Jubilee party. It's going to be difficult for UDA to survive in the Mount Kenya region, no matter
Okay.
how hard they
Oh,
work.
okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Makobura. Amiguda, do you have anything to say about that? About the parties, especially like Jubilee, that will also headed by the former president, and Wamunyoro will be launching his party on 15th. That's like 2 days from today. Um, what do you say about him, the party and the Jubilee?
I have two things very fast. One,
Mm.
I must also appreciate and also appreciate Rigathi Gachagua for formally resigning from UDA, one of the hardest things for any politician to do in the country. And the people who have done it are is only Raila Amolo Odinga who formally resigned. Most of the people have been jumping from one political party to the other without resigning formally. So that one we must also appreciate Rigathi Gachagua for taking that bold move by resigning. So I believe that there are other people who are also going to resign formally and follow their leader on that very day. With doing so, that is when we can go for by-elections, which has been called by Marco Bura, if they can formally resign. But if they have not formally resigned, then there is no need for by-election in those. But we expect some people can resign formally so that we can have battles in Mount Kenya region, so we can identify who is Rigathi Gachagua and who is Ruto in the Mount Kenya region. The other thing I want to also say is that we have been in politics. We have been understand these things, and maybe Mr. President is forgetting when Ruto left ODM after Raila fired him from the cabinet, but then from the ministry. When Ruto walked out of ODM, people in ODM were saying he has just walked out with one vote. That with because previously the Kalenjin nation had voted for Raila in 2007, so they were saying the electorates are for Raila. Leaders are not for Raila, so leaders can just go, but we have remained with the electorates. Let me tell you what shocked the people of ODM. In 2013 elections, even there were some veterans politicians who were left in ODM in those regions, people like Franklin Bett, people like Henry Kosgei. But what shocked people, the URP swept every every seat in that region. And that's actually what's going to happen in Mount Kenya. I'm certain sure that the current political party of Rigathi Gachagua is going to sweep all the seats in Mount Kenya region. And that's why we are saying that it's going to be predominantly Mount Kenyan party, just like other political parties are predominant in their region. That one must happen. Two things. Number one, the UDA fever is going to be sent out of Mount Kenya. And also, other people might follow the suit by going to resign formally as the members of the UDA.
Okay. All right, thank you so much, Mr. Miguda. And now let's come to also one of issues that is of going concern, especially this is we are coming to Siaya, and there's so many things that are happening in Siaya. News are unfolding. The broad base is not broadening in Siaya. Makubura, there's this issue with Orengo, especially it is said or it is rumored that members of Orengo had written a letter to the president that they would visit the state house with county members of assembly so that they can talk about the development. Then along the way, something happened. The president did not accept that. Then, in the process, one of the very powerful minister had to intervene, and meeting was granted, but under the leadership of the deputy governor. As you know, the deputy governor of Siaya, they're not they're not like he's not even working. He doesn't even have an office. He doesn't come to work. The money is not allocated to him even to run for his errands. He's using his own money. That based from the resources we're getting from the ground. Then what happened again? That meeting that was supposed to happen was cancelled again. Yeah. And now this is what is happening. It is rumored that there's a process in place that they want to impeach James Orengo. And the reason why is because James Orengo is not supporting the broad-based government. What is your take on that?
Okay. I can say that I wish they impeach. Let me start with that. The governor
Yeah.
of Siaya, James Orengo,
Mhm.
because personally, I would want him to also come up with his, let me say, Siaya party, political party. Let me not term it that way because that would mean that we are making, I mean, we are calling for political party for a region. I would want him to come up with a political party and to leave ODM. And if he comes with a political party, I can apply to be Secretary General of a party that is led by Governor James Orengo. One thing I can say about the politics of Siaya is remember the ODM leader is coming from Siaya, that is Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, and his close allies, together with his own brother, Dr. You know, Oburu Oginga. So the politics which is playing over there is, of course, the issue that is brought it up is the broad-based. There's a good number of members of parliament and leaders of Siaya counties who are in support of the broad-based government, but again, there is also a good number of leaders who are not in support. Those who are not in support, of course, are led by one, the governor, James Orengo, and James Orengo has been consistent. Partly, I agree with him and I support him. I support the fact that James Orengo is coming out in front of Raila Amolo Odinga and the president and is reminding them of the role that the president has. The president, under his leadership, the buck stops with him. Anything that happens in this country, the buck stops with the president. If there are abductions which are happening in the Republic of Kenya, the buck stops with the president. If there are corrupt allegations and corruption activities going on in this country, the buck stops with the president. If there are infrastructure, I mean, if we are not having infrastructure and all those things which were promised by the people of which were promised to the people of Kenya and they are not being actualized or worked on, the buck stops with the president. And that has been the call of one James Orengo. He has been reminding the president of all those promises that he did make to the people of Kenya.
Mhm.
So partly that has angered quite a number of people, including the cabinet secretary James, the cabinet secretary of energy. What is his name?
Opio Wandai.
Uh, Opio Wandai. And the likes of Opio Wandai and the member of parliament of Alego Usonga, being that the member of
Honorable
parliament of
Atandi.
Alego Usonga Atandi was given was elevated to chair the budget and whatever. He now thinks and behaves in a way that anyone who is opposing a government who has given him that opportunity is like that person is fighting him at a personal level. We are seeing the
Mhm.
same with the cabinet secretary as well. So they are all coming out to criticize one James Orengo, being that only that James Orengo is criticizing the government. But
Mhm.
James Orengo is okay, just like other Kenyans. He is a representative of the people of Kenya. He was elected by the people of Kenya, and part of his role is, of course, representation and working for the people of Kenya. If the national government is not doing what is right, he has a right as a Kenyan,
Mhm.
as a leader, to call out the relevant authority to work it out. But what we are seeing is some people who have been given the opportunity to work under this government feel that they are being attacked at a personal level. They feel that if Orengo attacks the government, then ni kama wataachishwa kazi. And that is wrong, because that would then mean that these leaders are only fighting for their own personal needs and they do not care about the sufferings and the pleas of other Kenyans.
Okay,
You
let
have a
me ask. Okay, go ahead.
you wanted to say something?
I just wanted to ask you to know, in the event that indeed they want to impeach Honorable James Orengo, what actually are they going to achieve in terms of development to the people of Sierra?
There's nothing that they are going to achieve in terms of development
Mm.
unless, of course, unless they go back to an election and then come up with someone whom they think can work it
Mhm.
out.
Okay.
Now it is so unfortunate, but that Orengo is being accused of not performing, and the question is it at this point of time that they've seen the incompetency in James Orengo? That is the question. James Orengo has been a governor for this is his 2 or 3 years.
No, that
How
is 2
comes
years. The second
never?
year, the second to third
How
year.
comes? How comes up to this point they had never seen his incapability in running the county of Siaya? Why is it that they are seeing it at this point? Is it because he mentioned the issues that he thought the government needed to rectify? And why is it that now they are all criticizing him, starting from the the senator who is walking all over the Luo Nyanza, criticizing and saying how bad the governor of Siaya is and how incompetent. That is politics of, I don't know how I can call it, but what I know is that they are fighting for one thing. They want to continue being in broad-based government. They want to be getting personal, benefits,
Okay.
not looking at what the people are getting. But one thing I can assure you, me, I can really advocate for them. I can support them. Let them impeach the governor. Because if that happens, then the politics of Luoland is going to change. Orengo is going to be an opener. He's going to, open the eyes of the Luo nation, and they're going to come out to get to understand how bad the ODM party has not been advocating for the rights and the interests of the people of Kenya, but what they've been doing is advocating for the interest of the individuals.
Okay, thank you so much,
Maybe
Makugura.
my last comment on that is that should they manage to do it, I can tell you that James Orengo is going to be the next Wamunyoro,
Okay,
because
thank
he's
you so
going to
much.
get the support of the majority of people. I can tell you the people from that community, most of them do not support the broad-based government. That I can assure you. And this call by the cabinet secretaries that, we are in government, we need your support. The people on ground are not getting anything that they can say that these are the benefits we are getting in this government. And for that reason, there's a good number of dissent. There's a good number of people who are having a view that this government should not be in power and should be told that they're not performing.
Okay, thank you so much. And be good at, I want you to give us the perspective, especially when it comes to legal. Remember, um, uh, the deputy governor, that is Mr. Oduol, was went through the Senate, but the Senate really walimsaidia ama the Senate walimsaidia, na kutokea hapo wajakuwa na mazungumzo ama mahusiano mazuri na governor James Orengo, na kwa sababu labda Orengo amekuwa amechukua mkondo mpya ya fikra, inaona kama sasa nataka kuletwa karibu, kwa kwamba mazungumzo nataka kuendelea pale Ikulu, ni kama kwamba yeye mwenyewe ndo nafaa, na watu ambao sasa wanamleta ni wale ambao walikuwa wanasema kwamba yeye kazi yake alikuwa amekuja kwa serikali hiyo, ama alikuwa amealikwa kwa serikali, lakini hakukuwa anatekeleza mambo ambayo inatakikana. Kumbuka aliwekea kesi za ufisadi, na leo hii tunaona kwamba yeye ni kama analetwa akuwe kwa mazungumzo, ni kana kwamba Orengo aking'atuliwa yeye ndiye atakuwa mwenye jiji. Sasa swali ni je, nini kimebadilika?
I wanted to put it on a political context, but now you have put me into a legal. Anyway, let me just put it on a legal terms. What must understand first, and we have stated it very clearly, that even as we want him to be impeached, we want him to come out of that government, because if they are going to impeach Orengo by the county assembly, they're just going to impeach it on a political context, and we also understand, we know that impeachment is a political process. So we are not even threatened. Let them speed it up. We want him to be impeached. Let them, as the ODM government in Siaya, let them impeach Orengo. We'll go to Senate, then the Senate will also, like, probability they can save Orengo, but if we meet in court, I'm sure that the court will save Orengo, because there is ground for impeachment, there is gross violation, there is also of the constitution, there's gross misconduct. Also, if you commit crimes that are international crimes or the municipal crimes. But those ones aside, what I want to say is that we, in the political context, that's why I wanted to make my arguments, that we want James agree Bob Orengo to be impeached. They should stop threatening us with the people. What they are doing to us in Nairobi, the supporters of Babu Oweno, they are telling us that you either you either ship in or ship out. In fact, let them do whatever they want to do to Babu Oweno. Let them do whatever they want to do to James Orengo. We don't care. We don't. We can't be threatened. Let them speed those things they are telling us so that we can have our own political party, because they are the people who brought multipartyism and they want you to have a single party. It is not logical. You can't be the champions for multi-party democracy, then you want to confine your community into one political party. We are saying no. And as we do not care, because you can't force the people to support broad-based government, but at personal level, I do not get anything from that broad-based government. You want just to use me so that you can gain. No, 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 no. We are beyond those theories. We are beyond those thoughts. We are saying, and we are better in opposition than being in government and getting nothing. That's why this time around, no one is going to carry for anyone's the brain. If you want to side with the ODM, good, just side with the ODM, but the point remains the same. Whether you are in opposition or in government, at personal level, you don't gain by supporting ODM or not. Some of us are not, we don't have any political party affiliation. At least now we can have a new political party and we are going to be registered as members of that political party. And this issue of people also trying to coerce people that you must, you shall, human being, not, we cannot do that. That one it has been overtaken by events. We can only worship God. Even we don't worship William Ruto. So just a mere CS coming to threaten people that you must support, a mere senator telling us that you must support. And if you are having a divergent opinion, then you are being labeled as a rebel. No one is a rebel here. The problem is they don't want you to think. They don't want you to dream. Someone want to be governor, then they don't want that one to be governor. Someone want to transform the society, they don't want that person to transform the society. If that is the case, let them impeach Orengo. Let them deny Babu's certificate for the Nairobi gubernatorial. We will have our own certificates. We will have our own party. But we are also reminding them, we don't need to be elected, because even now we are living. We are not members of parliament. We are not governors, but we are living. Even if Orengo does not make second term, he will not stop his life. He will still live. Babu will still live. There's always another time. And most importantly, Orengo has seen it all. Orengo doesn't even need a second term. He has been all this government. He has been the Kenyatta, Moi, Kibaki, Uhuru, and this Ruto. By denying him second term, it's not going to make him now a lesser human being. He can go back and practice law. He's a lawyer by profession. So this issue by some people, this is not even Raila Odinga. This, we know them. We don't want to mention their name, but we know them. There are certain people, the ODM Boys Club, sitting somewhere, deciding for the entire community. That one will not happen. We insist, let them speed the impeachment of Orengo. You can't threaten the people. Let them deny Babu Owino certificate of Nairobi gubernatorial. We will meet sometimes, some days. And we also remind them that we will fight another day. But the thing that must be undertaken very clearly, no one is going to decide for the community. No one is going to carry for anyone the brain, or no one is going to put people with condition that you must and you shall. No, we are a democratic society, and if you are the people who brought this thing called multipartyism, why are you confining the people into a single party? But you brought multipartyism. Let us embrace multi-party democracy.
You know, allow me to just add something on that. I personally have never liked ODM, and these are the reasons why. First, ODM has used majority of people, majority of good leaders who had leadership skills, people who would perform, people who would work for the people. They have been finished by ODM, especially in the lower land. And it's so unfortunate that ODM is operating like a private entity. And you know, a political party is like a public entity. And that's the fact. And that brings us to this question. The political parties that we have in the Republic of Kenya, do they really, are they really pegged? Are they really respecting the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya?
Mhm.
And because I was wondering, I saw the senator of Siaya speaking in Migori and
Yeah.
saying that this is our party and that if you cannot adhere with the party, authorities, then you are supposed to leave. And the question is, somebody like Orengo has been a fighter, and part of the people, Orengo, part of the bigwigs in ODM,
Yeah.
somebody like Orengo has been a fighter within ODM. And, part of his fights and his
Mhm.
consistency and activism made some people who had political views or political, people who also wanted to become leaders. He has mentored some people. He's also coming, he's just within ODM as an individual. He's got his supporters. I can confirm to you that Orengota is respected in the lower community. That I can confirm to you. And most of times, if he goes there, he's always also been viewed as a party leader of ODM. So if they make that decision, just because some few members of ODM who are still actually young, let me say so, within
Mhm.
ODM, are in government, are enjoying personal benefits directly from the government, now they are going to, convince Raila Molo Odinga and this party that, you need to remove James Orengo from this party, then I think if the ODM party agrees to that, then they're going to make a disastrous move, political disastrous move. Because I can confirm to you here,
Mhm.
Luo community, majority of them are not in support of the broad-based government. The reason why I'm telling you this is the broad-based government has not in any way influenced, has
Mhm.
not in any way helped the lives of the people of that regions to improve in one way or another. What is happening is a consistent group of people, a consistent citizen
Mhm.
crying for the high cost of living and lack of respect within the government, things to do with infrastructure and all those the problems which have been there are the
Yeah.
ones that are there. They are not sorted. So you want to come out and tell us that because someone is reminding you of your role as a government, you want to throw him out? Well, he's going to be thrown out. That is if that is what they are looking for. But again, they should know that he's going to get a good support of the people, and possibly he might change the politics and the thinking that has been, uh, the people of that community, Nikama, they've been in a cage, political cage. With that disagreement, James Orengo would come out and at least tell us the bad things about which is so in ODM and all those sides. And there's a possibility of that going to make sense to majority of people, and especially those who have tried vying using ODM and they've been thrown out. And they will, for the first time, become relevant.
Okay. There's a question that I want to ask you, and I want to connect it to what Douglas Kibogong. Hey, Douglas Kibogong, thank you so much for joining, my brother, and nice to see you. And Douglas Kibogong is asking so question that everybody, even including Opio and I, mentioned that the performance. And now, when we're talking about the performance of a particular county, because I don't think it's the first time that people have complained about the performance of CIA. But now the question is, if to say that Orengo was supporting the broad-based government or he was not a good critic of broad-based government, would be people asking about how he has been performing in CIA? Miguda, can you answer that?
You know,
Yeah, I can answer that. I can answer that if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can answer that authoritatively
Mm.
without any fear of favor or
Mhm.
contradiction or any consequences.
Mhm.
We have Migori County.
Yeah.
The current governor of Migori County is Ochilo Yako.
Mm.
Ochilo Yako is not doing anything,
Yes.
but he's not going to be impeached because he has decided that he has aligned with the broad-based government. That's a very good example. If Orengo could have been supporting this government, this issue of impeachment could have not been speculated. That's why we are saying we are not even sorry. Let them do whatever they want to do. We don't care. Actually, we don't care. That is their own. That's their party. They can have whatever they want to have, but things must be stated clearly. Why is it that there are other people who are not performing, but they are not being threatened to be impeached, but the other one is being threatened because he is having a divergent opinion, not even with the party. Orengo
Mhm.
was only advocating for the rights of the people who were killed, defense
Yeah.
of the human rights, and Orengo was also defending and also trying to remind the president
Mm.
should uphold the constitution because he swore in to protect that the people through the constitution and also to defend the constitution. And he was also reminding them about institutions, how there is coordination and relationship between the county and the national government. So by saying those things, if those things are criminal offenses, let them charge Orengo in the court of law. If just by disagreeing with you can make you to impeach me, so be it.
Okay, thank you. Makubura, what is your take on that? When and this Douglas is still Ben, is Wanga performing better than Orengo? What is your take on that? If
More of this is I'm
Mm,
giving that. I'm giving my view on that. More of what is happening in Siaya is uh, of course those who are in government,
mhm,
like the cabinet secretaries, they want to maintain being cabinet secretary in the next term of the president, and for that reason, they are fighting so hard to ensure that they regain those seats. And again, there are also some who are fighting to take the seat of governor. Uh, the senator of Siaya, of course, I'm quite sure he has ambitions of becoming the governor. The members
mhm,
of parliament who are also coming out to criticize, they also have the ambitions of becoming the governor of Siaya. And for
mhm.
that reason, they have found a way.
Yeah.
And, they're trying to use the broad based and the stance of the governor to just try to criticize his role in governing the county as the CEO of the county and how he has performed. Because if the issue of performance, just like you've raised it, why is it that in his third year, that is when the issue of performance is coming up? Senator of Siaya County, he's been actively involved in the politics of the Republic of Kenya. We've seen him working with Raila Amolo Odinga everywhere. He has never mentioned that in Siaya we do not have a governor. We have
Mhm,
a governor who is not performing. Part of the reason, if you remember when the impeachment motion was taken to the deputy president, I mean the deputy governor's impeachment was taken to the Senate.
mhm.
Part of the reasons that the deputy governor was saying that the governor is not performing, and the same question was asked: if he's not performing, has the MCAs or the relevant authority or even the senator raised that? And the answer was no, he has not. And the question here should be, why is it that now that the governor is not performing in his third year, they have just noted that? And the other day, the governor had problems with the deputy together with the MCAs. If it was true that he's not performing, then there's a possibility that he would be the first person to be impeached. They would
Okay.
have possibly left the deputy president the deputy governor in charge to continue with the running of the county. What is happening is a political motivated, uh, call,
Mhm,
and it is happening because James Orengo, in presence of Raila Amolo Odinga and in presence of the president, criticized the broad-based, criticized the performance of the president in terms of delivery on promises that he gave to the people of Kenya.
mhm,
If I want to say this about county governments, and the reason why James Orengo wrote a letter to the president, is because you've seen Raila making several calls that county governments need to be given money, and not just him. Even members of the senators have also made the same. What is happening in county government is they are not given enough money, and for that reason, they are not able to fully perform, you know, all the functions that they have as county CEOs, That's a fact. And what we are saying here is,
Okay, stop. Kindly. Sorry for cutting you short, Mr. Obura, on your submission. And this is what I want to know, because when the Constitution of Kenya as really outlined the responsibility, especially when it comes to the responsibility of MCAs, responsibility of members of parliament, responsibility even on how the money should be disbursed. Yeah, that is something that has been laid down by constitution, and we know that one is working. Yeah.
yes,
So my question to you: if we want development, yeah, that we have to troop to state house, that we need to have this development, which actually is not enshrined in our constitution, because when you want development, the development or the infrastructure that is done is allocated in the budget. So when you go and the president maybe say that, okay, we are giving you 50 million, where is that money coming from and who is allocating this money?
let me explain to you that.
Mm,
If you remember the other day, on the same, when Raila was speaking about counties not being funded, and he also criticized the move by members of parliament on the matter of, I mean, on the issue of money that they are given called the NGCDF or whatever.
mm,
You know, this money, the role of members of parliament is very clear. They are not actually supposed to be given money and oversee how that money is working.
yes.
Currently, the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya is very clear. There are roles of county government, and again, there are so many departments, I mean, so many things which were devolved to the county government. Part of it was, of course, infrastructure. But the truth of the matter is, county governments do not have the mandate or power to do some roads. Some roads are still left to the national government. Education was
Yeah.
devolved. It is not
Yes.
still not happened. There are so many, I mean, levels of government that were devolved, but they're still being held at the national level. And
Mhm.
the government is taking that advantage because they are reasoning that more of what we were supposed to devolve, we are still having them here. And for that reason, we do not have the reason to give you the full money that you want. And that is affecting the county governments.
Okay.
What is happening, for example, the national government is still doing roads. The money that is given to the county governments and the budget that the county government has cannot be enough for them to do roads. And for that reason, there are so many roads which are under the national government. If you are a governor, you do not have a good relationship with the president, what
Mhm.
normally happens is the roads in your county would not be done. And that's a
Mhm.
fact. We've always seen that. The Luo Nyanza, I mean, the parts of the public of Kenya that supports Raila has always been in opposition. And there has been those cries that, you know what, there are no developments in our regions. And those are part of the reasons why those in oppositions have been crying, saying that we are not getting roads. We are not getting roads because the national government still holds so many things that they were supposed to devolve. And governor, in his capacity as the CEO of Siaya County, he has a right to write to the president requesting him to have a sit down with him so that they can discuss on issues of development.
Okay.
If he was sitting down, I'm quite sure he would have proposed issues to do with, uh, you know, repair, I mean, building of roads that are under the government, such kind of things. And it is okay because he's the governor.
Okay. Thank
If
you.
anything is not going to happen under that county, he'll
Mhm.
be told that you did not have good relationship with the president. So the question, allow me to just say this: the question that you've asked, the constitution, of course, is clear and clarifies everything, but what is on the ground is not really what is in the constitution. And for that reason, we've seen president going to other counties, and when he goes, he's been giving developments. Nimesema hii barabara itajengwa. Na they always do it. So the president still has too much power that needs to be devolved. That is
So
the point.
let me ask you: the powers that president have, that you are saying that the president still have, are these the powers that they've been given by the people, or the power that have been given by the nation? Whereby, my question, maybe Miguda can also help us and answer this. Whereby, when we want development, when any region want development, we are not very specific on share. Now we are talking in Kenya in general, every region, every region, every county, because this is Kenya. Everybody would want to do development. That for me to get development, or for my people to get development, that we all have to troop to State House to talk about development. So which means all the developments are being found in State House. But by the way, it did not start with the administration of the President William Ruto. This is a system that has been this is a system that we've always had. Yeah. And that's why everybody would say that be we have to work closely with the president so that we can get development. You know, some of these are the things that we've made us to believe that that's how it works, which is not true. Or Miguda, what do you think?
It's you have stated it correctly, and I can just say the fact that some people are moving to State House to seek for development, at the same time, also the fact that people have that trust that this is only the president who can bring development to your counties. That is a fallacy. And we are saying, no, these are enemies of devolution. They want to kill devolution. They want to kill devolution. And we are very serious about this issue. The executive was devolved. That's why we have the county executive headed by the governor and the CECs. And also the national legislature was devolved. That's why we have the county assembly. And there's functions and roles of Mr. President. There's functions and roles of the county government. And county government also operates under County Government Act. Therefore, we need to understand these issues and separate them, distinct these two levels of government. There are some roles like health which are devolved, but we still have health in terms of national government, the insurance part of it, that is the social health authority. And I just view it that these are just enemies of revolution. They want to kill the revolution. We should be discussing on the increment of that fund from 15% to 35 or to 45, like the Federal Republic of Nigeria, whereby the devolved funds were increased around 30, 40, 45. Then the national government should remain with at least 55%, so that more functions can be undertaken by the county governments, because we have our people at the county government. Then the 55% should be left for the state to operate in terms of diplomatic and also relationship with other states, in the terms of cabinet secretaries, ambassadors. But when it comes to the service delivery, it should be exclusively for the county government, and the president should just do his functions as mandated by the constitution. Back to you, Makubu.
Okay, thank you. There's a question that Bernard asked about why are people going to the president to seek for development. Maybe if I can give you a typical example. If you remember when the president visited constituency in Nyakach, that is in Kisumu County, you know, there are so many requests that the member of parliament requested. Part of it, of course, was bus for the schools. Part of it was some roads which were actually under the national government. And, he promised, if you remember, the president promised to give some buses to some schools. The money that he promised to give to the schools, it is not is private, personal money. It is the money coming from, the taxes of the people of Kenya. And for that reason, we have to accept one thing. The president, the truth of the matter is the president still has too much power. He has too much, authority in terms of who to give development and who not to give. Because we've always seen him, whenever he goes to counties or constituencies, he's been giving development. So telling them, I'm going to make this road. And you find that that road at some point maybe was not even in the budget, and it has always been done. And what we've always seen is the close relationship that the president has with either a member of parliament or a governor. depending on, that kind of relationship, we've seen development being given. So that's a fact. Miguda, maybe you can give your take on that and give us your final remarks before we close.
Just my final thought. We understand. We all know that the president always use public funds to move across the country, and not that he's using his personal money. And even when he promised to build a school or a bus or he promised anything, that is not coming from his own pocket. It's coming from the public coffers. My last thought, I'd just like to say very clearly that when it comes to the issue of picking a presidential candidate from the Wamnyoro side, Kalonzo still stand no chance. And also let him man up his game. See you next time. Bye bye, everybody.
Okay, thank you to our viewers. This is Brother Benson Media, and here we say that your opinion counts. If you are new to this channel, kindly like and subscribe to this channel. If you do so, we'll really appreciate. We do have this kind of conversations on a daily basis, so you can always join us. Maybe if you subscribe, you'll be notified. So kindly, you can support us by just subscription and inviting your friends to the show. There's a comment here, Miguda. Maybe before you go, Douglas is saying it is unique to Kenya or even to US. Trump is using his friends. Yeah, and that's what I was explaining. Brother Ben was just clarifying the fact that we've seen president go to constituencies, go to counties, and give developments, and especially those which are not actually in the budget. So we have to accept the fact that the president still has, I don't know whether it's some powers or what, I don't know how to term it, because we saw him, he went to Nyakach in his way when he was going to, there was a trauma hospital that he
Senator?
was going to open in Nyabondo. And
Mm.
the member of parliament requested for quite a number of things, school buses. And he promised to give the school buses. He promised some roads. Those are things which are not really on the budget. And they're going to be done. So what I can say is that as much as, of course, the constitution is clear, the president has his role, the issue of members of parliament or leaders going to seek or to beg for development, it's still a reality. And that's something we have to accept. It is happening. We've
Yeah.
seen governors, we've seen the president going to certain counties, and depending on how he's treated in that counties, he give developments. So that is something that is there.
Nadhani mojawapo ya mapungufu labda naweza sema kwamba tuko nayo kama tuseme kwamba kama wananchi na pia viongozi ni kwamba kuna inafaa tukuwe na somo zaidi ama tujaribu kufanya utafiti kwa upana sana na tujue sana kazi ya rais ni nini. Siwezi sema kwamba jambo ambalo linatokea ni kwamba labda mtu akitaka maendeleo ukuje kuwa rais aliyo mamlakani. Si kosa lake, kwa sababu labda imekuwa ni mfumo ambao kila rais ametumia, na mfumo kama hayo si kuona tu kwa Kibaki ilikuwa tofauti kidogo, lakini ni jambo ambalo imekuwa ikitendeka, si hata kwa rais, hata kwa maviongozi wengine. Unapata kwamba utaenda kwa kiongozi labda ukitaka jambo fulani, lakini kitu ambacho pia lazima tujue ni kwamba katiba yetu imeweka wazi jinsi maendeleo inafaa ifanywe, naweza sema hivyo, kwa sababu yote inafaa ikuwe kwa bajeti. Kama saizi kuna bajeti ambayo inakuja iko already. Sasa utaangalia let's say like infrastructure ameweka ngapi, shule ameweka ngapi, kwa sababu uwezi tu toka tu na leo uende ama ukuje kunitembelea useme kwamba leo nakupatia milioni 20 na hii milioni 20 inataka kutoka kwa exchequer. Nani ataitoa? Na hiyo ndo nakwambia bado tuko na mapungufu mengi. We still have a long way to go, especially with our institutions. Our institutions are, maybe I would say that there's some of the things that we have been made to believe that that's how it works, and that's why you see like if some leaders, even today you saw in the Senate what happened, because if if that people, like, we've reached in a way whereby we need to think the same way. If I don't think the way Makubura thinks, then I'm an enemy, or you're my enemy, and we want to find a way to silence that your voice. That's how we think. Look at what happened in the Senate. That is one. Look at even what is happening in talk about here.
But
And
you've spoken about the Senate. I've just remembered something.
yeah,
I remember the senator of Kakamega, Boni Halwale. When the cabinet secretary in charge of labor appeared, he stood up and he said that he had a conversation with the youth, especially those that had applied for some jobs through the government. And those youths are requesting, sent him to tell the cabinet secretary that he needs to resign. And I remember him standing up and saying that, the cabinet secretary in charge of, labor, this is
yeah.
people are saying that under your leadership, you promised this and you are there. They're saying that you need to resign. They're demanding that you need to resign. And I remember the speaker actually stopped him and, said that he should withdraw. And the question is, he's a legislator. That is part of his role. Part of his role is ensuring that, government employees, the cabinet secretaries are on toe and are doing what is right.
It
They are
is
being
that's some no
protected by the
Makubura.
speaker. The question is, where are we as a country? Are we even respecting the institutions?
No, we I don't think we are, because what usually happens is that our the new term that has come in place, we call it the praise and worship team. We have so many praise and worship teams such that we forget the mandates that we are given. If you see, look at Senate, what happened when Edwin Sifuna was trying to direct a question to the health minister? What happened? The Aaron Cheruiyot and Cherargei, educate all that, and you see that in Senate. It tells you that, and that is a house of decorum, where our issues are being articulated and where our voices should be heard. And if you are heckling one another, or you are creating all those kind of things, simply, it tells what is happening. Yeah, like everything. I don't know where, I don't know where as a country we really departed from the moral values and cause, the ethics of, where did we depart from that and have this kind of finality and authority that you have to, yeah. And something that people have to realize is one thing that we have to accept is that we have one president in the office that is called President William Ruto. President William Ruto is a president for everybody. He's a president of the nation. He represents Kenya everywhere he goes. That is a fact. But another thing is, there are people who might not agree with him in terms of his political art. But that one does not take away his role as a president. Is that like, okay, president, on your political, I don't agree, I disagree with you on this. And that is something that we are not seeing from maybe some members of parliament. They cannot come out and confront whether something is wrong or something is bad. They cannot. I don't know what they fear. So that fear, but that one does not take away his presidency. Even in the parliament, sometimes, the other day, remember when we were backstage, when you look at the history of some of the members of parliament, how they used to talk and how they're talking today, you ask yourself, what happened? Pio Wandai, when he was the minority leader in the parliament, how was he talking, especially when it comes to issues to do with the president? Talk of Mbadi. How was it talking? Not all, but we can give. There are so many of them. I can remember even when people were campaigning, people like the Junet, how he used to refer to president, But now those ones have changed, But if we can change, why can't we also change in a way that we can provide services that people need? Yeah. Remember, all these people that you are fighting for to vote for you, they're only of the ni Wakenya wote. Eh? Eh? So kuna vitu ambazo labda inafaa sisi tukae chini tujiangalie kwa undani zaidi, unaona, na tuachane na chuki, tuache watu wakuwe na uhuru wa kusema, unaona, na
Yeah. I think the problem that we've had as a people is we've not been electing leaders. We've been electing, the problem we have again in Kenya, let me put it this way.
Mhm.
In Kenya, you are given an opportunity to serve, whichever
Mm.
role. What you do there is you go get into corrupt dealings, you steal, and then you're on the limelight on news, and then you become, out of that, you
Mhm.
become a popular person. And then you get, I don't know, you get the energy to go vie for a position. And then once you get to the ballot, instead of people looking into the individuals, doing an analysis, once someone has gotten himself into
Yeah.
corrupt dealings, this is someone who cannot lead. We've
Mhm.
seen, I can give you several examples. Somebody like Waiguru, the governor of Kirinyaga, no one
Mhm.
really knew about her until the scam of NYS. Instead of the people of Kenya looking into the character of this individual, you give them a chance to serve. We've had members of parliament, we've had cabinet secretaries
Mhm.
get involved into serious, corrupt dealings. More of governors that we have, majority of them actually got into scandals. And these are the people that we gave the opportunity to serve.
Mm.
Once you give an opportunity, someone who has gotten himself into corrupt dealings, this is
Yeah.
someone who cannot change. You cannot expect anything positive out of such a person. And what normally happens is they try to recruit close allies, thieves, people that they think together
But
with.
you know,
And through through
Makura,
through recruiting these thieves then get the position of MCAs, members of parliament. And so you find that we have a group of thieves as leaders. And so when they go to parliament, they cannot make anything substantial. They cannot make laws, especially laws that are going to finish them. They will never do that. And that is why you find them speaking together, reasoning together, because they are birds of the same feathers. You cannot expect anything positive from them.
I think one thing that we have to agree, Makobura, is that it is a societal problem. It is our society problem. It includes both the leadership and the people who are voting. Because remember, there's some incidences where have happened whereby the leader is facing some charges. Then the people, they will go back to their community and say that we are targeted. you know when you are involved in corruption and you have this money, you are by yourself. But now it comes out in public, now you make it a community. And that's where we usually, especially our politics, is all about. Everything that happened to us, or anything that happened to one of us, especially leaders, it becomes a community, and the community get into it, and it loses its meaning. You know, for instance, because this is a politics, this is what we see. I do not agree on how Rigathi Gachagua was impeached. 100%. I don't agree with that. Yeah. But what has happened? That every disagreement that the president had with Rigathi Gachagua, it is now a Mount Kenya issue, because huyu mtu alitudanganya. That is Ali tudanganya tu.
And
It
the
is a
most painful
plural.
thing, yeah, and we're not even aware of the negotiation. They did not tell us. Now that things have gone south, that is when now we are being forced to be part of it.
Yeah, so na ni si yeye peke yake. Unajua siasa ni kitu mzuri, na itafanya ujue tabia na za watu sana. Ukiona saizi, kwa sababu kuna broad based government, yeah? Especially kwa wale ambao kutoka sehemu za kwetu ambao wasioipinga, wameweka ikawa ni kwamba ni ya jamii, yeah? Sisi jamii yetu tuko kwa serikali, hujaweka kama kitu labda ni mbaya, na unaweza
And
elewa.
they're forcing. And they're
una,
forcing.
una,
I heard some of them saying that we need your support. like
Yes.
ni kama mtu ana command na salary anapata, anakula na yeye na bibi yake na watoto yake. It is so unfortunate. The politicians are taking us for a ride.
So they don't think of how the strategies, what the position that I have, how can I make it in such a way that everybody in Kenya should enjoy, instead of talking about our community. Sisi kama ndio maana kila mara ukisikia Wakenya wanaongea, maviongozi wengi ikiwa natembea atasema sisi kama Waluya, sisi kama watu wa mlima, sisi kama Wajaluo, sisi kama Wakamba, sisi kama, ni kwamba unapata kwamba sisi kama nchi inachukua sehemu ya pili. Unapata kama the Kenya as a nation does not take the first place in most of us, especially as Kenyans. We cannot say that we as Kenyans, we want your tribe or your region will always come first, then your country will follow, which is not the case in various countries whereby people cherish their country. So provided that we make our country to come second in our pronouncement, especially when we are looking for development, then it tells us how we are not so much faithful to this country. Majority of us, not even leaders, even the voters themselves, First of all, what we usually make sure as leaders, we make sure that we enjoy. And it tells you what usually happens is that when they do not have opportunity, when you do not have opportunity, you become very vocal. But when opportunity comes, you keep quiet, you forget. Even right now, let's say that kama saizi tutakuwa tunakosoa rais, tuseme kama rais amefanya hichi na hichi, lakini leo rais akuja kanipatia kazi, the following day, hata kama rais atakuwa nakosea, rais amefanya vizuri, kwa sababu hapo ndio mimi napatia mulo. Sasa hiyo ndio shida ambayo sisi tuko nayo. So na sidhani kama tunatoka hapo hivi karibuni, kwa sababu ukiangalia kwa sheria tu zetu hizi, hii sheria tu katiba ambayo sisi tunayo, hakuna mahali katiba iliweka kwamba baada ya uchaguzi lazima tukuwe na salamu za heri. Lakini kama kutakuwa na uwezekano tukuwe na mambo kama haya ambayo inaleta watu pamoja, ambao tunataka kufanya kwa serikali moja, inabidi kama sheria, nchi ambayo ama watu ambao wanaheshimu sheria, inafaa waingie katika, you have to sign a contract, and when you're signing that contract, one of the things when signing a contract or agreement, you have to know what you are signing for. You don't just sign. And that's why when you look at the Grand Coalition assignment, it did not have issues. Why? Because it was structured. After being structured, it was anchored in law and provided for positions, including 2 deputy prime minister. Was it 2 deputy prime minister? That was, it was Uhuru Kenyatta and Mudavadi, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
And Raila and the late President Kibaki to be co-principal. When you talk about co-principal, it means you are at the same level. The core. When we talk of 2 principal, they were co-principal, which means you are of the same level, and it was structured. When you look at the broad base that we have right now, it's not structured. It is just memorandum of understanding. Is it not anchored anywhere in the law whereby it can be enforceable? The 10-point agenda, you cannot enforce them anywhere. You cannot, because it is not anchored in any law. And some of the points that the 10-point agenda that are in the memorandum of understanding, all those you can find them in our constitution. That's what is happening. Let me see. Kevin, have you seen a pastor giving a bribe to a traffic, police officer in a road or even a Christian. Yes, there are some cases that we everybody gives bribe, and the following day they go to church. It tells you how the
I think
society has been rotten.
yeah,
Yeah,
it has been normalized in
it
the
is
society,
normalized. Yeah.
and it is something that can be fixed if we have a leadership that is,
No, the leadership cannot fix it. It is the change
you
starts
know,
with.
you know what, brother Ben, I get you. I get you. At this point, it is, let me give you an example of what was happening. For example, if you remember 2015, those who did their KCSE in 2015, there
Mm,
was a massive, I don't know even how to call it, to an extent that, for example, this night at 9 on news, you'll be seeing a paper that will be doing the following day, and that was KCSE.
mm,
And for it to get to that extent, there were so many cartels involved, and they were eating with senior people in the government. If you remember when Matiang'I came, it was changed in 1 year, and it changed, and that's a fact. So what I'm saying is that there are so many things that we've seen. If you remember Michuki and the laws that he brought forth, they were brought when people never expected that they would work. We've had
mm,
leaders who have gotten into positions and they've changed things, especially when people thought that it was not possible. So
mm.
with a leadership, with a leadership that is caring, a leadership that is up to the task, we can do it, because
Yes.
it is the
I,
rogue officers, people who are being paid by the government, employees of the government who are at the par of it. You find that you need a service from the government.
Makobura.
You cannot get it before you bribe.
Mm,
It is not that it is not that we bribe because we want to. We do it because you want, for example, a passport, and you cannot get it. The person is telling you that if you give me something and you really need it,
Makobura.
we can do it. We've seen leaders who have changed this kind of things.
Makobura, I don't think they're rogue, but you also have to look at the environment where they work. Especially, I don't know whether you've interacted with some of our police officers, especially those who stay in those camps. You find sometimes you might find a police officer, they sleep in small house whereby it is curtained. You know, some of these police officers, they start wako hapo kwa jua for almost how many hours? You know, and when you come now to their payment, first of all, you have to look at their shelter itself is not favorable. Yeah. Come to even on how the movement, how they can move. Gari moja, unaona, utapata the working condition itself for them, yeah, for them is so there are so many things that can be done for the system to work. We need to put a lot in every sector. I talked about our police
Yes,
officers. We talked
like
about
you've explained it. That solely depends on the leadership that we have. If we had a leadership who cared for the police officers, they would have increased their incomes so that
but
they don't
but
have.
I agree with you,
I mean,
Makobura, but the problem is, it did not what we want to agree, it did not start with this administration. It is a system that has
yeah,
always
yeah,
been there
yeah.
ever since.
That I fully agree with that. I fully agree. It is not this government. We cannot really fully blame it on this government. But what we are saying is, any government that is coming, if they really care, if they are really leaders, they need to be reducing. I'm not saying that there's going to be a government that is going to come once and then in one term or in 1 year they would have
Mhm.
finished. No, that is not the case. We've even seen, in terms of leadership, even within the county governments, we've seen some governors who are doing very well, you
Yeah.
know, and the people in this, I mean, in those counties are getting the services from those governors.
Mhm.
But you go to other counties, they just know there's a governor. They've never seen any service delivery in those counties. So these things
Mhm.
are there, they're happening.
Okay.
But my wish should be that we get people would get into office and try to reduce the problem that is being faced by the people. If
Okay.
they reduce, if I get to the position, I reduce it up to 30%, and then I exist. I exit. You come, you continue with 30, then there would be a remainder of 40%. You know,
Yeah.
you have to make a progress. But the government that we've been having are not making progress. Instead of making progress, they are
Mm.
taking it back. They are making it worse. And that is
Okay.
the tragedy that we have.
Okay. Thank you so much, Makobura, for taking your time to be with me in this podcast. And I will not close without thanking our members. Today, I saw Alex. Alex is a good friend of ours. We come all the way from Mtembei TV, and I was very, very happy to see him here. That is Kevin is born in town. Our villagers, you need to give bribe to the chief. That's a
Let me remind
society.
let me
Eh,
remind my good friends Douglas
eh,
Kibogong.
eh,
I'm a typical villager. A
eh,
typical. When I say a typical, I'm that person who was brought up in within one. They say one village or one.
mm,
Uh, uh, how do we call it? One ward. I went
mm,
to from nursery to class 8 in one school in one village.
mm.
Went to a high school in the same ward. So
Yeah.
I'm a typical villager. I fully understand how things operate within the villages. I'm not about
Mm,
town. I
mm,
came to Nairobi the other day,
mm,
but I thank God within that few years that I've been in Nairobi, I've
mm.
gotten to understand. And somehow it could be that I'm behaving like a Nairobian, but the
Okay.
fact of I'm not one.
Gibson Corner is bringing about Nairobian, and we need to look for Ayaga. Ayaga is a Nairobian.
And Ayaga is an expert in Nairobi. Ayaga
Uh,
knows all the corners of
mm,
Nairobi.
uh,
Uh, but I can also say that I've had the opportunity to work in Nairobi,
mhm.
and it's so unfortunate. I'm telling you, brother Ben, people are suffering within Nairobi. There are some
No,
constituencies that if you go
kuna
to,
kuna kuna
you
kuna
will.
kuna kuna rafiki yangu unanisikiza?
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
Anasema Nairobi ni shamba la mawe.
It is true. There are some constituencies that are visited.
Mm,
Like if you go to this Kibra, this one Kibra that you hear people talk about,
mm.
I'm telling you, I wish the leaders we have would be walking into
You
these
know,
areas, because when they walk to these areas, they will get to understand that truly they are human beings who are suffering. And once you go to these areas and you see the kind of life that people are living, I am sure that once you get back to your office, you'll never have the luxury of
mhm.
you know embezzling the money of the people.
And that's why each and every time when I think of Kibra, it reminds me of Ken Okoth. And I say, like, sometimes death is so much cruel and heartbreaking. Ken Okoth was such a good leader that we lost such a reformative, a revolutionary, somebody who understood what it means to upgrade what that guy did. And that's one thing that I've always convinced me, that everything is possible. What that guy did, and I think, like, those are some of the people, that especially leaders that we lost, who changed the lives of the people. If you talk of changing the life of the people, there was a time I was listening to him, one of his speeches, because, like, he talked about when somebody flies, you're on a plane and flying past Kibera, you see those iron sheets that are corroded, like, they're corroded, they're all that. You see that, so that nobody understands that until you are living there. That is when you can. But you find some of our leaders, instead of talking of how can we improve, even like do school. And I think he was building, he was constructing, I don't know whether it was completed, a library somewhere in, where? Was it around when you are going towards Line Saba, Kibera Line Saba? I don't know where you know where. He
Yeah,
was constructing a library, and he constructed also a school somewhere there. I don't know whether when the brother came in, did something for that, and that's how the Kibra story died like that. The Kibra, the dream that this guy had for Kibra, just died with him, and nobody will come. Even in 100 years, I don't think like there is going to be a leader who will come and do something in Kibera or on the way Ken Okoth, the late MP Okoth did it. I'm convinced beyond reasonable doubt because he was not a PR person. Yeah, yeah, that dream of that, of even paying school fee, the scholarship that the students who were there, like the hope that was there in that community because of this guy was impactful.
I think if what needs to be done is before someone is elected to these public positions,
Mm-hmm.
they need to be taken. They need to be taken to some areas. They need to interact with people.
Mm-hmm.
They need to walk and interact with, especially people in this the poor people, because if truly they're humans, then with that consistency, if they walk into these areas, they will get to understand how heartbreaking it is to to deny services to the people.
Yeah.
Sometimes you walk within the city, Nairobi, and then you see people dressed nicely, and then you think that that is the translation of what is happening on the ground. But I can tell you, in this Nairobi, majority, let me say 60%
Mm-hmm.
of the people living within Nairobi, they are living a life that, you know, I've been telling you here, when I was in primary, I used to write compositions.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the words, like I've been telling you, that I would say that, I would equate poverty, that those people lived hand to mouth. I can tell you, people in Nairobi live hand to mouth, and it is a reality. If you don't wake up and
Uh,
do something, you cannot eat. If you don't wake up and do something, you cannot get rent. If And it is not that the people do not want to. People
mm-hmm.
are very eager. The people of
Yeah.
Kenya are hard-working people, but there are no opportunities. You find that someone is highly educated. People are educated, but
Mm-hmm.
they do not have the opportunity. They do not have, work to do. And so they turn into doing things which are not really okay. The level of depression in Kenya is high because people are asking themselves why things are not working. They were
And
told that if you go to school,
yeah.
education is the key to success and life and all those things. It is
Mm-hmm.
nowadays not true because the people of Kenya, majority of them are educated, but they do not have the opportunity. They are even asking themselves, if someone would have told me earlier, I would have used the money that I used to go to school to start a business.
Bakobura, how are you going to start a business yet the environment for that business, there is no the environment for that business has not been created. There are so many people who their business has just died.
Yeah, I'm saying the thinking of the people,
Yeah.
especially those who are not, majority, they're saying that if I wish someone told me how tough it would be huku mbele, I would have used the money that they use. They're saying they would have used the money to start a business,
Mm.
thinking that that might have worked. But of course, that is not the reality on the ground again.
Okay.
So it's unfortunate that we have such kind of leaders, but
Okay, Makobura.
we shall make it. We shall make it work.
Okay.
That person who believes in
Sawa.
possibilities.
Wanasema Mungu akikuonekania usitusahau, na pia Gibson Kona na watu wote ambao wako hapa, utitusahau, karibu, utulete karibu. Okay, let me take this opportunity to thank you all. You are for 2 hours and almost like 3 hours. We really appreciate you, and we really thank you for according us your time and being with us in our conversation. And I hope tomorrow we will be following up or the
Before umalize,
mm,
niliuliza Gypsy Corner swali,
mm.
sijui kama alijibu.
Alisema
Gypsy Corner,
because niliona aliandika pale juu work purposes. I saw that.
so that means ako Nairobi. Okay, maybe. Gypsy Corner, I didn't see your comment. Anyway, thank you so much for the good words I can see on the comment section. I really appreciate.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone, and thank you for your time. And may God bless you. As some of you retire to bed, or some of us will be retiring to go to work, depending from where you are. Above all, we want to thank you so much being at Brother Benson Media, and on behalf of me, Makobura and Miguda, and all our team members. We do have a lot of team members. We have Kisumu members too that usually do the groundwork. Sometimes they don't come on the show, but they do work somewhere. Kevin Obura will let you know next time. Asante sana, Gibson Corner, for that. And thank you so much, everyone. And thank you much. For those who are new here, if you're new in Brother Benson, please kindly subscribe so that when we go live, we can have a conversation. And we always welcome all comments, be it negative or positive. That's what what will going to make us grow and correct where we feel we are not doing a good job, and perfect on the places that we feel we are doing good job. And that's why we are here. Otherwise, thank you so much, and may God bless you as we wait to see the launching of the Wamunyoro party. Tomorrow we will bring our recap and analysis to what we've seen, and maybe you can also watch and share with us what you can pick so that we can have conversation. Thank you so much, and may God bless you.